Even outside, it's packed.
Why do I not see any? There it is. There was some audio. There was just, I was speaking and there was no sound, and that's not cool on a Monday morning. Hi, how are you? How was your Thanksgiving? Mine, great. Thanks for asking. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's lovely of you to ask. There's a lot to discuss over the travel weekend. One of them being, and I guess I have to ask this of the chat. So give me 1 second while I bring you guys up because you're under this situation here. Back up there, one code, put that, and go to this, click this button, and then you'll show up. And then I hit this thing, and there you are. What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it's Monday, Sunday. It's my Sunday. It's going to be Moon Day. I worked on a new background for the show with the note from last week that I thought of, and I was like, you know what, I should probably do that. So I worked on it, but I had family stuff to do, so I didn't get it installed. I'll do that this afternoon. Anyways, who traveled this weekend? Who went more than, let's say, 50 miles in general for the holidays? Just for Thanksgiving. And by the way, yes, I'm well, let's see. 50 miles or 75 miles round trip. I'll give you that kind of a break because I think part of the drive is the drive back when you're drunk on tryptophan and every day's like Sunday. I agree. You went 50 feet? All right. Well, right to the kitchen to eat some soup over the sink, so you don't even have to wash the bowl. More than 50 miles in my mind. All right, cool. 7 hours in the car. There you go. Traveled from LA to Chicago. There you go. Look at that. Nope. Carl, nope. 400 miles each way. Wow. See, because I gotta say, I have because I have a 12-year-old and he's a gem of a human being and he's a joy to be around, and all my relatives love him, and they're, oh my God, Hal has a kid, that kind of thing. You have to do the obligatory holiday parade, which is take him to see each grandparent or extended family. Sometimes you have to alternate because you don't want to wear the kid out. But over the course of the end of the year, from basically Thanksgiving to New Year's, you're just dragging him to each of these houses and going, there he is, still alive, still smart, still good, still a decent human being. We'll see what happens when he hits puberty. But right now, excellent. And they're like, okay, here's some food. Shove that in your face. I made these cookies. They're a little disappointing. Have 9 of them, even though you wouldn't eat one if they were in a store. You'd go, what the hell? But since somebody made them, you're like, all right, I'll start in on them. And then after 9 stories later, you're like, why does that plate empty? Those were terrible. You reached a 30. Oh, look at that, Alyosha. Right on. Wear them out. Stop making them walk. Oh, look, my kid, I have a rule as a dad that I have to be able to curl his weight with one arm, whatever he weighs, at least 5 times, no matter how heavy he gets, or hold his standard weight for a count of 15 with a crook elbow, like a dumbbell, like that, until he no longer ever needs to be carried again. Or until he graduates, I guess, to fireman's carry, which would be the other thing where you just throw him over your shoulder and run from the fire. But I've had that rule since he was little, and it's one of the reasons why I have, one of the many reasons I have redneck strength, and why even when I'm tired, I can my kid can hang on my arm and and just stay there because of that. Anyway, so he's 12 and we did a lot of flying this weekend. And bless his heart, he's a trooper. He's got a system. He knows what he's doing. It's it's habitual for him. It's kind of amazing. And he's he does it with aplomb. He's very sweet. He takes care of the people around him. He's polite. He's self-sufficient most of the time. If he's hungry, he says so. If he's thirsty, he says so. It's kind of amazing. It's almost like he was raised right. And but it's a lot. Even as good as he is, it's a lot. Yes, he can cook. I'm one of those people who believes that if your kid can't scramble an egg, you're failing as a person. Now, at certain ages, they need supervision, but my kid knows how to hard boil an egg. He knows how to do an 11-minute hard boil from cold water to boiling, and then douse it in ice water immediately afterwards before cracking it open to stop the cooking so that you don't get green yolks. He knows that. My kid technically knows how to poach an egg, although he's never done it, I don't think. So, yeah. Never send your kid off to camp or school without the ability to make a fire and cook something on it. Does he do his own laundry? No. And that's because I do it, but I don't, he puts it in the hamper. That's fine. My grown male spawn is my sous chef. That's very nice, Kath. Yeah. 13 minutes is a sweet spot in my experience. It can be. That's usually, if it depends on how, what your pan's like and stuff. There's a little variability. I understand that. Started baking at 6 years old and was doing it with, by myself at 9. That's very impressive. See, that's nice. That's how it should be. That's good old fashioned frontier poverty cooking. Teach her how to cook at 9 years old. We got to marry her off in 3 years. Anyways, so he's great that way. But it's a lot. It just is a lot. It's a lot for me. Like I left Vegas at 1:15 a.m. because I have to fly through. He is his mom's right now, so I have to fly through and pick him up and then take him where I'm going. And I left Vegas at 1:15 a.m. Thursday night / Friday morning, and arrived in Cleveland at 4 o'clock that afternoon, and didn't really go to bed until 10 o'clock because of hanging out or whatever. And then we had a birthday party Saturday, and then another travel day Sunday. It was nuts. It's just a big whirlwind. Hi, what's happening, Boston Brian? Hello. By the way, I hope you had a great birthday. I have a present for you. I just realized too late that I didn't know where to mail it. So we're gonna have to work that out. We'll yeah. Text me your address, you silly man. Anyways, so it was a great weekend, even with all the travel and stuff like that. And I would like to say, on that note, to all the right-wing America sucks, we're in hell and tubes of hell and hell tubes right now. Travel this weekend broke all records. Pre-pandemic, hold on. Thanksgiving, let's see if I can bring up an article. Travel, U.S. Yeah. This was the report. This is updated 12 minutes ago. So this is even, because people are still out and about, if I may. Ladies and gentlemen, U.S. airports on track for busiest ever Thanksgiving season. Busiest ever. U.S. airports are on the verge of setting more travel records as huge numbers of travelers have been taken to the skies over the Thanksgiving holiday. The Security Administration said Monday it's nearing its anticipated 30 million passenger total over the holiday period. The agency said it had screened 24.7 million people in its holiday period, including a single-day record of 2.9 million on Sunday, with 2 days still to go. It told CNN it expects to screen 2.67 million passengers on Monday, more than half of the remaining number to reach the 30 million milestone, which is forecast would signal a busier than ever holiday travel season. Now, remember, we're in the tubes of hell. Welcome to the tubes of hell. Whoops, sorry. There we go. We are in the tubes of hell. and hell tubes and hell, and we're living in hell, and everything's too expensive, and there's not enough of it. And it reminds me of that old joke, this the Republican Party can be summed up in the old joke where there's two ladies are at a buffet and they're like, the food here is terrible, and the other one goes, yeah, in such small portions. That's your modern Republican Party right now. Now let me show you. By the way, you guys know I get a little wound up sometimes. And by the way, but let me preface this by saying my cardiac health is fantastic. I easily relax, and if I get all wound up on the show, I understand there's a comedic aspect of it, and I hope that my acting out of it, you recognize that even my max frustration doesn't even enter into my gray zone, much less my red zone ever. And I know this because I actually have a red zone. I don't know that a lot of people have a red zone. They're all gray or all white meter, and then one little sliver of red that they never reach, and if they did, it would mean they snapped and slaughtered everyone. That's how most normal people operate. Then there's those of us that have our zones. And I have a very narrow annoyance zone, a genuine annoyance zone, and quite frankly, it could afford to be wider. I could widen my annoyance zone. It would probably do me some good if I was a little more honest about what annoys me, but I suffer fools gladly, and I like people so much that I don't kind of give a shit. So, and then I have a red zone that's a third of the fucking thing. But that's because in my red zone, I am able to calculate. And so, shit, Hal is coming live to every hospital bed in America. It's true. Yes, the mid zone, the annoyance part is very narrow. But my red zone is, I talked about it with my cousin this weekend, who's a U.S. Marshal. And I got to say, kids, he's a master catching fugitives. He's got some of the best fugitive catches in history. He's a smart guy, and the time he spends hunting some of these awful motherfuckers down. Awful. Like that, literally, the stories he tells about some of these folks that he has to deal with and that he has gotten, who are out and about, who broke out of jail or fled or skipped bail or any of this stuff, and what they actually did. And by the way, what they continue to do while they're out in the world. That's what runs through my mind every time somebody throws up the abolish prisons ACAB stuff. Because I'm like, you have no idea what kind of awful that looks like if that becomes a reality. And if you don't know, I'll give you an example. Look up a guy named Lester Eubanks. Look at the backstory on it, on this dude, and how he got out. And it will turn your entire narrative of how the system works and how it's set up completely on its head. And oof. Do I have any relatives that are Trumpers? No. Do I? Sort of. I have some that are Republican and that will vote. Probably, I don't know that they'll vote for him though, or they'll just stop. They probably won't. But always at the extended Thanksgiving stuff, we have neighbors and relatives, friends come over, and there's a bunch of those. I got into one of these conversations across the kitchen island. The election was, I saw with my own eyes. They were stuffing the ballot. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it. I'll tell you what I saw January 6th. I saw people walking through a hallway. You're going to go to jail for 20 years for walking through a hallway? I saw with my own eyes, like that shit. That's almost a direct quote. So, and it's okay. And no blows. Okay, and by the way, I would like to say for the record that person that I was speaking to has that level. Nah, don't worry about it. Bobbity bibbity bop. I handle those things just fine. I'm all right. I'm the perfect guy for that to happen with. As a matter of fact, it's kind of like, it's like I feel about trolls here. I feel like if they're here, we can handle them. I can handle them. I don't give a shit. There's no skin off my nose, right? All the stuff that they throw around that other people are like, oh dear, that's painful. That's unfortunate. Why are they saying those terrible things about me? You know what I mean? Like, I give a shit. Like that's what self-assuredness and security looks like. I'm good. So, anyways, the one thing about this dude was it didn't matter what the conversation was. It was all that. It was everything was, I don't like that kind of concert. Anyways, I don't go to those kind of concerts because I like I'll go to these kind of concerts, but I won't go to those other concerts because I know what a good show is. I know what a good concert is. That's not a good concert. I don't like that stuff. I don't like that stuff. I like this stuff. Like everything was the exact same thing. He had seen everything with his own eyes, and like corn giblets are the bomb. I've seen people enjoy corn more with my own eyes than on the cob. Okay? I know people eat corn on the cob. I like to hear both sides, but people enjoy eating corn with a spoon more. I've seen it. Like it's everything. Everything was the same art. It's so funny. Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? Aged rebels turn into nihilistic contrarians. It's how it works. Yeah. Giblets or niblets, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just corn off the cob, which is just corn, by the way. Corn on the cob is corn. Corn off the cob is because don't get me started on the unsweet tea idea. So yeah, yes, there's people like that all over the place. So that's the kind of stuff I run into. And this is a guy, by the way, who will tell you that the world is falling apart. That we are in hell. It's hell. And this person has never skipped a dessert in their life, is holding their favorite chilled beverage in their hand, has watched 3 football games that day, has a full tank of gas, and when he goes home, his air conditioning will work. like, and the whole thing is everything's shit. It's shit. Everything's shit. Like, is it though? You're going to Kohl's right after you leave here. Is it? Right. So anyways, so you guys know I get wound, I get wound and bound, as you know. And so I don't want you to get all, wound up, but I want to show you something right now. Our friends over at Bloomberg have decided to tap dance on my last fucking nerve again. With this shit. All right, let me, do you think, now, ladies and gentlemen, I have told you, Chow Chill will be shown us the end of this coming week. Excellent. Yeah, just gripers. So, yeah, everything's on fire. Everything's burning to the ground. The whole world is ending. This thing is heading towards us. This is a live shot of a giant flame ball that just headed towards the earth. It has to be. So, by the way, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. It's the morning show. It's a holiday weekend. Hi, how are you? Sorry, it's an extended thing. So, all right, now, this title of this article is Just How Bad is the U.S. Cost of Living Squeeze? We did the math. Folks, they did the math. Now, do you think they did all the math? Of course not. Also, did they do just enough math to make me want to buy a chainsaw, no matter how expensive it is, and run through the Bloomberg offices with a hockey mask on and put the fear of God in some of these idiots? Yes. I'll show you. Yeah, it's Trump math almost. All right, here we go. This is, first of all, I fucking love this. They went through and they broke down all the costs of these things. Since, by the way, a lot of it since the bottom of 2020. Some of it's, and that's how they get their like, oh dear numbers, is that they go, some of the numbers are pre-pandemic. And some of the numbers, most of the expendable stuff, is mid-pandemic numbers. Yeah, look at this shit. Indoor plants up 21%. Since people started being able to grow weed at home with hydroponic systems, maybe, natural gas up 29%. Because commercial buildings during COVID were not heating it to human levels. Everybody, fucking hell. Giant office buildings were running at near refrigerator temperatures during the winter and fall of 2020 and into 2021. You know why? Because nobody was in the fucking thing. And now their efficiency's off because the buildings are only half full because people are working remotely from home, and they're still having to heat the whole fucking building, which has fewer people in it, which means it takes more to... That's just one motherfucker. All right. Electricity, 25%. All right. We'll talk about that. Major appliances, 12%. Now, why would major appliances be only up 12% since 2020 when supply shock and people weren't buying fridge? All right. 12%. All right. Why? Because half the new refrigerators have a screen on the door. Water and sewage is up 16%. Now, I don't know if that's coming or going. I don't know. Is it water on the way out? We don't have enough money to eat. We don't have enough money to sleep. We don't have enough money to piss. All right. 16%. All right. Rent, 20%. Restaurant food, 24%. That would be people getting a living wage, by the way, just in case you're wondering. Okay, so just pets, 17%. You got to chuck your pet. It's 7. You can take 17% off your bottom line if you throw your pet out a window, apparently, according to these idiots. Groceries up 25%, depending on which one you're talking about and where. Car insurance is up 33% because people bought more new cars. People bought more cars and newer cars and upgraded their cars during 2020 because of that's one of the biggest expenditures people put. Remember when all the new, they were like, you can't get a used car. All the used cars are up, and the new cars, you got to sign up months ahead to even get one and put down money early and blah, blah, blah. All right. So watch this though. Holy shit. After years of inflation, U.S. consumers are shouldering a burden unlike anything seen in decades. Remember that sentence. Even as the pace of price increases has slowed. It now requires $119.27 to buy the same goods and services a family could afford with about $100 before the pandemic. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the world of a shortened supply chain with no slaves in it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Half of this could be counted as an anti-slavery tax. Or, translation, the actual cost of what shit is without forced labor. Motherfucker. All right. It's hard to find an area of household budget that's been spared. Groceries are up 25% since January of 2020. Same with, and we'll get to that in a second. Same with electricity. Used car prices have climbed 35%. That's the one, remember that? If the people who buy used cars in general, which are middle class, lower middle class, and lower class people who are trying to move up, they're the people who largely buy used cars. If the price of it is going up, that's because more of them are capable of buying them. All right, don't get me fucking started. All right, now, auto insurance 33% because they have better cars, because more people are getting better cars than they had before, and to insure those cars and the shit that those cars do is more expensive. Okay, rents roughly 20%. This would be the one area where you could actually, you need a Marshall Plan kind of solution for it. And yes, if your natural gas is more expensive, I would check your diet. All right, now here we go. Those figures explain why Americans continue to register strong dissatisfaction with the economy. Here it is. Hourly, real, and nominal wages. Nominal wages are up 20%. Real wages are 0.6%. You know why? Because the thing you're paying, the stuff you're buying, and the stuff you're getting, especially when it comes to your phone bill and your internet and your streaming services and all that kind of shit, people, when they have a little more money, they add it's like a creature comfort tax that they go, finally, I'm able to get a fucking no stick skillet instead of that shitty old pan I have. That kind of stuff. That's where that goes. That's why the real wage increase is 0.6%, which means people's shit hasn't gone down. They're just not feeling it as much because of the expense of other stuff. And part of that is the actual cost. That would be rent. That would be where and by the way, that's a city council issue. Most places where it's a big problem. That's your city council. That's why your city council fucking matters. If your city council is full of NIMBY assholes who are tied to the real estate market or have real estate investments themselves, they will kill every possible solution to expanding the available apartments, especially to meet the need of the people around it. Look at LA, look no further than Los Angeles. That's exactly the fucking problem. The other problem from that is foreign investment. Foreign investment sitting on American real estate, which is a safe bet. They buy buildings and they keep them empty. That also drives up the price because none of those apartments are on the market. So I would suggest two solutions. One is a fucking vacancy tax. If you have an apartment that you are charging, a certain amount for in the building, and it remains vacant for over a year, you start getting taxed on that at a higher rate, and it's progressive. So if you hold an apartment empty for 5 fucking years without dropping the cost of the rent, then you get fined to the point where it would be untenable because you're manipulating the market, especially if you own more than one fucking building. So that's the other thing. And these fucking ghost LLCs for ownership of real estate have got to fucking go. They got to go. You have to know who owns a fucking building. So a progressive tax on vacancies will solve most things because they're not vacant because there's not somebody available to take advantage of that. It's because they're intentionally driving up the rents of the other people, sometimes in the building, by keeping those other apartments empty. So yeah. So that would be the primary one. And then again, like I said, expose the LLCs that own these properties so they have to bug out because foreign investment, their intention is to keep the property as devoid of humans or make them as broomable of humans once they decide to sell it if they need to in a hurry. It's easier to sell a building that doesn't have tenants in it. So the goal is to empty these fucking things out. And New York has a big problem with that. It's got a huge amount of Russians that own, huge numbers of condos and buildings that they Airbnb, which have been that was the problem New York was having with those. I have never I think the first time I ever stayed in an Airbnb instead of a hotel in New York City, it was somebody in the Village who was an American. It was very obvious, and they might have just been managing the place, quite frankly, but it seemed that they were there. Every other time, it was someone with a Russian name, someone with a Russian accent saying, don't say anything to the doorman, which is fucking weird. So I've never stayed at any of those places twice. Most of the Airbnbs I've used, I will use them multiple times if I go back to the same city, especially for a holiday or something like that, if I can get it ahead of time, because I know the place and I like the place. And if you have family and that kind of stuff, it's easier, right? Anyways. Rants over. So check this out. And the government data reports that showing easing inflation are cold comfort because they simply indicate prices are growing at a slower pace, not that they're returning to 2020 levels. Now, again, wages are growing at a slow pace, but people's expenditures are growing. And part of it was because we were trapped inside. So they're buying shit, and it's not even that they're buying shit, they're doing shit. Hence, by the way, the fucking 24% in restaurant food. A broke ass, it's just like the dollar, man. They talk about the dollar like a bunch of assholes. They're like, we're printing too much money. Motherfucker, nothing gets worth more if there's too much of it. Nothing, ever. How about light topics? I think this is a fairly light topic, considering we could be talking about Gaza, and we will be. But let's go there. Let's finish this out, because this is the part that drove me fucking crazy. Okay. In an October installment of the Bloomberg News Morning Consult poll, more than half of voters in several key swing states pointed to grocery prices as the main way inflation had impacted them. Can anybody see what part of this might make me lose my fucking mind? Here's a hint. It's the small print. Anyway, like this, if anything sums up this article, it's that graphic. Let me see if I can, I'll just grow it for you. I'll see if I can make it a little bigger for you so you can maybe see it a little better. Whoop, nope, stop that. I want this guy. I don't want, let's see. Control, yeah. Does anybody see the, oh, yes. Thank you for spotting it, Karushi, right out of the gate. Son of a bitch. Coffee, the price of coffee is down 6% since Trump was in office. I'm fine. I'm all right. I'm okay. Okay. Now, and by the way, tumbles and drumbeats, profit-driven inflation, I would argue, is your reasoning for real estate. It's not in any of these other things. It's literally sourcing. It's supply chains. Supply chains are getting closer. This is the actual expenditures. The profit margin on most of this shit has not gone up. The cost underlying has gone up. There's a price point by which somebody will overtake you. So even though they'd love to shovel fucking profits on top of stuff and get away with it, ultimately all somebody else next to them who's selling coffee too has to do is go, we don't need that much of a profit on it. And you're instantly undercut. If there was if Dunkin' just decided, oh fuck, Starbucks is gouging, we just won't gouge, and that would drive the price in half, people would be, storming in their doors, right? This is the actual cost of shit. If you don't have forced labor or shipping from countries that have forced labor, that's the slavery. So also, never mind the fact that quality in coffee is something that, especially when they make it themselves, they buy it themselves, people like their fancies. It's like, it's closer to wine in people's choices. But look at this. Look at this. Fuck that. Look at the little type. Look at the little type. Now, don't get caught up on whether it's coffee or not coffee. You don't drink coffee. This is endemic. This is a great example of how these dipshits talk about stuff. With eggs, they all conspire to raise prices. That's debatable. There's processing and cartoning plants, and they weren't ready to lower the price until they knew the hens were going to survive. That's why the prices come down so much. That's why they're fucking. There's a sale on everything. That's the other thing. These motherfuckers don't put sale prices on anything. They act as if there's never a sale anytime at any store. Whatever the baseline price is, that's it. Nobody pays the fucking baseline price. Like that asshole I showed you guys in the Costco clip that they were sharing around, where like this guy was holding up a 64-ounce jar of mayonnaise, going, "This is gone up 50%." Like, asshole, you bought it with 2 coupons last time. It was half price. It went back to the price. They don't have too much mayonnaise. They're not trying to move the fucking mayonnaise. Oh God. So, yeah. Exhorts rare tense teeth. Yeah, bacon, trumpet is. And by the way, this is fucking pissed me off too. This is a graphic. Grocery store. January 2020, October 2023. Orange juice. You guys just buy orange juice, right? Just as orange juice. It just says orange juice on it. You don't care. Pulp, no pulp. Organic, not organic, gallon, little sampling, any of that shit. 12-pack soda. That's it. So we're going to compare, we're apples to apples, no pun intended, with the soda. That's soda. Coffee, $4.17 to $6.18. Again, white bread, $1.35 to $2. Again, there you see like labor costs almost directly. That's the 1-to-1. $1.46 to $2.07 for eggs. Over the course of 3 years after a pandemic. Again, this is not a huge leap. And by the way, now they're selling 18 egg cartons on the regular. You used to only get those at fucking Costco. Now they have them at Kroger's. A pound of ground beef, $3.89, $5.23. Again, grass-fed is now the norm. Plus, you got to ship it and truck it, and the truckers are getting better pay. That's the transportation cost. That is not inflation. That's production cost going up. Because of wages, which people should have a living wage. All the people anybody who says we should have a living wage, I don't want to hear shit about. I want to see them defending Biden on inflation every fucking day, because that's where the cost rise is coming from. It's not simply there's more money to scoop up out there in a ton of areas. And don't get me started on technology, which is always deflationary. All right. Anyways, Banana Bunch, $1.14, $1.25. Reach, motherfuckers, reach. Tomatoes are cheaper. They didn't highlight that. Why did tomatoes go down? Tomatoes are cheaper. That's really fascinating. I guess they had to put something on the list where the price went down. Uncooked rice, a box, $1.43, $1.92. Okay, if you're buying rice in a box, you're paying a premium for it. Tell me by the bag, dumbass. Tell me by the bag, dumbass. Hold on one second. Yeah. Jamie, put that thing up on the screen about how boxed rice weighs less than rice in a bag, because bags versus boxes. The box weighs the same as the bag. Even if the rice is heavier, you end up getting 74 grains or whatever. I had the munchies the other night, and I got into a rice hole. Jamie, put that on the big screen. So, all right, wait for it. Okay. Then they interview people, anecdotal stories from people. It's a huge slap in the face, and I'm surprised that some people are saying inflation's coming down. Says Ryan Essenberg, 50, who lives in California's Bay Area. It's hard. You go get your bill, and it's like, what's happening here? I guarantee Ryan Essenberg, 50, who lives in San Francisco, believes in a living wage. Believes that that companies should provide health care. I bet you. What do you think? He also believes that they should lower their petroleum footprint and switch to electric. Yeah? What do you think? What do you think the odds are? Yeah. Okay. A Census Bureau survey showed a 4-person household spent an average of $238.32 in a week for food at home. 3 years later, a similar survey showed that the figure jumped to $315, roughly 32% more. Because of availability. In October of 2020, you couldn't even get shit if you wanted it. You were buying less because you were buying smaller amounts and canned stuff. And by the way, they were cooking less and ordering more. Remember the Postmate days? All right, grocery inflation is to return to less than 2% next year, but that might offer consumers. I don't see any other way the food overall is going to be taking a higher share of disposable income than before. You can't wiggle it. Now, wait, get down to housing. There you go. Since 2020, up 28%. Mortgage rate. And by the way, that's going to start coming down. This only affects, by the way, either first-time buyers who are worried about getting locked in. If you're doing a 35-year mortgage or even a 15-year, you're going to have a chance to, the way these things go, you'll be able to renegotiate in 4 years and get a bonus for renegotiating that will take off what you paid in interest largely leading up to that. That's happened dozens of times. There's the Zillow thing because everybody just bought a house. Remember when everybody was moving? Everybody was buying their house during COVID, and now they're holding on to it. Right. Those who owned homes before the recent run-up in mortgage rate and prices have been shielded from one of the most dramatic impacts of inflation. The appreciation in home values has markedly boosted their wealth. Remember that. Because more first-time home buyers bought right after COVID and during because their home values were going up and everybody jumped in early. All right. Then let me show you this real quick. As the electricity bills, Maine and California are the highest, because they're transitioning to green energy sooner and they're putting a premium on the cost of it to pay for it. That's not because a light bulb is taxed and the light coming out of it before it reaches your eyes is taxed. It's silly. Okay, one more thing. Childcare, 32% since 2019, right? Because more people are working than ever before. So the overall cost of it isn't up. The availability of it is lower. All right, here we go. Pasta, noodles, pizza, 17%, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now let's get down to here. And then I'll move on because I know I'm boring the shit out of you. An oft-cited silver lining of the pandemic economy was that consumers up and down the income ladder were able to build a savings cushion. While richer Americans saved the most, the unprecedented surge in government support, from expanded unemployment benefits to stimulus checks, provided lower-income households the opportunity to save it well. But there are signs that the padding is getting thinner. Now, there's a difference between people dipping into credit and that kind of stuff and, quote, the padding getting thinner, but we'll get to that in a second. Many households dug into savings over the summer, and the distribution of savings remains highly uneven. Roughly two-thirds of total deposits in mid-2023 were held by the top 20% of earners. That's always true. And by the way, I take that back. No, it isn't. Roughly two-thirds of total deposits in any other given year is in the top 10%. That's an expansion. Check this out. Savings rose across incomes, even if the jumps were uneven. This is what's actually happening in our economy. The bottom 20% saw a slight uptick in their savings. The 40th, the 60th, the 80th percentile, which is most people, and everybody's on the same arc. Everybody put away their money. And this is, by the way, why UBI will not work. This is exactly why UBI will just create more rich people and more expensive shit for everybody else. Because your mortgage payment is not going to go up when UBI happens, but your rent will. Because the minute there's $1,000 extra, that's monetary inflation. That's an injection, an infusion of money, and everything that's available where they can scoop some of that out, they will take it. If you've got extra money, your rent will go up. If you own a house or you're paying at a mortgage that's locked in, it stays the same. So if they did $1,000 a month UBI in Los Angeles, half of it would go to rent like that. Even though the studies say otherwise, no, they don't. All the studies are only in single environments where they have rent control. The countries that have tried it already have rent control in those areas. You have to establish rent control before you do that. Yeah, UBI is monetary inflation. And that, by the way, that's also when governments have more control over pricing than we do in the United States. It's another thing. Also, rich people don't need that $1,000. And if you do universal basic income, UBI, everybody gets it. If it goes to the people who need it, not everybody gets it. There's no reason why the top 1% should get extra $1,000 a month of play money, because I got news for you. They will pay down investments with that. They will invest it and make more money off of it because they're playing with the house's money. whereas everybody else will eat it and shit it out and fill their tank with it and that kind of stuff. They'll use it. That's why it can't be universal. It should be means tested. It should be universal up to a certain point. Just saying. And you could make it relatively high, but it just wouldn't be universal. Yep. You can claw it back in the tax structure. Nope. You know why? Because somebody will sue and say it's not universal. I'm being discriminated against as a human being. What if my empire crashes tomorrow and I have to live off this and I haven't gotten this like everybody else got and I couldn't sock this away and make a savings account for myself while other people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. If it's universal, it's got to be universal. If it's not universal, it's welfare. And if it's welfare, then it has to be means tested so that people who don't need it don't get it, so you're not spending it anyways. Also, again, unless you price fix and you set rents, it's gone. If it's $2,500 a month, universal, Jesus Christ. I mean, then you're looking at Japanese prices for everything. And again, rich people will just have $2,500 mad money. Anyways, here's the savings. Look at this right here. Changes in savings since Q1 of 2020. This is the changes in how many people have money saved since 2020. This is the beginning of Trump. No, I'm not, Mr. Spock. I am not wrong on this. You can't start with that end goal and solve it backwards. No, UBI does not sound like communism because communism would just give you the stuff. You would show up someplace and they hand you toilet paper. You don't take the money and go buy it. That's why Social Security is not communistic or socialism. It's not socialism because you could spend the money however you like. You get it. You could get a cheaper place and then have steak dinners every night, I guess, if you could find a way to live off your Social Security that was minimized to that, right? That's the point. You could spend it however you like. That's the difference. Regulation, not universal, no problem. Exactly. You have to regulate it. What do you mean show the proof? Mr. Spock? It is self-evident. Again, the only places they've tested it and they've done the studies is where they already have rent control. Nationalized toilet paper. Da, da. So anyways, this, I would like everybody to look at this for a second. Just take this in. 16%, the average increase across groups, 16% increase in savings. Now, when you had nothing, it's easy to go up, a little bit. Got $100, you got $111 in there, you've gone up 11%. That's where the bottom rung is, but it's still there. It's still a thing. It beats the alternative. Could be going the other way. They're not going more in debt on average. That's a better sign than what was heading in, and it's directly because of infusions by the government. Yeah. UBI sounds like a contraceptive. No. It sounds like a urinary tract infection is what it sounds like. Anyways, and by the way, Tara Dublin will be joining us at the hour to discuss some of this stuff as well. And of course, what's going on with Israel and Gaza, and the ceasefire seems to be holding. They're extending it. Apparently, Hamas is having trouble finding some of the hostages that they're going to trade because, let's see. Oh, right. They murdered them already. So, yeah, they don't exist anymore. They were just, the number is probably, if they took 240, there's probably 180 that are alive. Anyways. So, there you go. Top 1%. Their savings went up 32% during that time. Partly because of expenditure on, like office space and all that kind of stuff, like the bigger investment stuff that they have. Costs went down because people were working from home, yada, yada, yada. There's a mix of things. And investments went up because they bought low and they are holding, or they're selling some of it off, or they got out of Tesla, before it took a giant shit, that kind of stuff. 80 to 99th percentile, 60th to 80th, which are like the majority of Americans are in these three categories. The volume of Americans, the biggest volume of Americans, person to person, is this group right here. 25, 15, 20%. It's weird that there's a dip in this middle part, but these are the people who buy most consumer goods. I would, the 60 to 80th, they probably spend the most on stuff they don't need in this group, keeping up with these guys and running away from these guys. You know what I mean? They keep them up with the Joneses. Mm-hmm. Even you can be wrong sometimes, Hal, and this is sometime. No. Explain to me how in Los Angeles you will give everybody $1,000 extra a month and rents won't go up because there's a lack of available space. Without government controls. In October, student loan payments resumed. That's okay. All of this has families feeling stretched, while they are less stretched, by the way, than they ever have been. Now, there we go. Enough on that topic. It was driving me crazy. Let's jump over real quick to a funny little story that kind of cuts against the whole Ukraine is full of Nazis narrative, because that does not appear to be the attitude of the folks in Berlin towards the Russians, because there's a Soviet war memorial in Berlin, and there's a bunch of swastikas on it at the Althohenstrassen district in the city. They put a bunch of Nazi swastikas on it. Well, horse cross, or whatever. The horse cross. No, the hooked cross. It's not a swastika. That's a Tibetan sacred symbol. Okay. Israel and Gaza live updates. The agreement has been reached to extend the truce for 2 more days. The truce that Biden and Blinken and 2 people in his department negotiated with through Qatar and Egypt. Egypt, it turns out, was one of the became a bigger crucial player when there was that delay, when Hamas was holding back in not bringing people in. It was Egypt that provided the muscle, because there are a couple of things. One is the leader of Egypt has had sort of a truce with Hamas, because they're a part of the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood doesn't like the fact that Egypt's run by a secular leader, and so they want him dead. And so Sinwar said, "Hey, don't side against us." This is a couple years ago. "Don't side against us, and I won't if ISIS or the Muslim Brotherhood through any other groups attacks you, I won't back them up." So they were, so that was kind of like a, hi, Linda, hello. It was kind of a Mexican standoff in that regard between the two of them. There's also 3, I guess, 1 main tunnel and then 2 other exits that come out of Gaza that apparently is Sinwar's escape plan. Apparently that's the way, if things totally go to shit and he needs to go run Hamas from exile, and his plan apparently is to bug out through that tunnel into Egypt. And this deal with him to not back the Muslim Brotherhood if they attack the leader of Egypt is the one thing keeping Egypt from filling it in with cement. Yeah. So, yeah, pretty fascinating. I mean, it's great news that they're getting the youngins out, and there was a 4-year-old girl. Apparently, Matt Gaetz gave Biden an F for getting that 4-year-old. I guess F is for 4. Getting that 4-year-old girl out, and maybe she's just too young for him. That seems impossible. You should people stop talking much about Trump and focus more on Biden's wins. I agree, because this is a pretty huge one. It's hanging, it's holding, which is good stuff. And meanwhile, Trump, it is getting around. I guess we're not the only ones here in my chat. You guys have been great, but you guys aren't the only ones, along with me, noticing that he's on a hard friggin' fade. By the way, I think Tara's joining us in a minute. I will bring her in as soon as she shows up in my little side software. You know what I'm saying? I saw her for a minute. Yeah, I think jump in there, but I wasn't sure. What should have happened earlier? Oh, I see her there. I see her popping in. I can even hear her. Hold on one second. I'll copy in as she's getting into position, if you know what I'm saying. I'll bring her in there. But apparently the big thing is Trump's just his defense. He uses this whole "I was being sarcastic" defense a lot, and the irony of it is that he, of all people, considering it is sort of almost the functioning communication structure of his entire support team, all they live sarcasm. I mean, and we all know that verbal irony being what it is, sarcasm is what idiots have instead of a sense of humor. And in the case of, Trump and his crowd, and let me make a very distinct, different. Okay, why is that not popping up? I copy that link, and then I put it in there, and I see, because I have to turn this off. Is that why? It's also. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I think I put it in. It happens sometimes. Paste. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Bang. Should pop it. Hey, there it works. Hold on. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of bringing you. On that note, also, our dear friend Tara Dublin rocks. Tara Dublin, how are you? Tara Dublin.
Hi.
Wow. Tara Dublin. All right. Tara Dublin. Yeah.
Tara
how
Dublin,
are you?
yeah.
Tara Dublin.
I'm good. I brought our Shiro Dolly with us today.
Yes, she was lovely. That was.
Oh
that
my
was,
God. Is she not all of the life goals and then goals we will never attain? Yes, she is. Yes,
I mean, the woman wrote, "I will always love you." I mean, for God's sake.
Yes, she did, among many other things.
Yeah.
She also did more for the country during COVID than Donald Trump. So,
well,
but then so would a dead potted plant. But anyway, it's Dolly, and she's 77, and she turned out in a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader's outfit.
She did indeed.
And she killed it.
By the way,
Cher is also 77, and both of them are the same age as Trump. Let's just put that up.
Yeah, and Cher did the Macy's Day Parade, and her bit was great too.
Also, they're awesome.
Yeah, they were amazing. I love both of them, and I maintain my crush to this day. But my mom was saying, she's like, she didn't like how Dolly was walking around the edge of the star and performing because it seemed like the lights were too bright. And I was like, that's because they had a fail. The star, she was supposed to stand on the star during the show, and they had an issue with it, and so she couldn't do it. So she had to perform in front of it. They had to, because whatever the platform. Also, what kind of an asshole puts a 77-year-old woman in heels on a 10-foot platform that is shaped like a star, that isn't like a circle with just a star printed on it, so she has room to walk around? Are you out of your mind?
Even Taylor Swift wouldn't. She would demand a bigger platform.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, you're not putting my Dolly up on that contraption, wiggly nonsense.
We have to preserve her for as long as possible. I mean, she's self-preserved very well, but we have to help too.
Yeah.
So
until they can get enough stem cells together to just revert her back to 1978 Dolly, which is not far off, but it's not close enough for me.
It's not. Yeah. And also, anything that we can do, like if we could get some of her stem cells into us, I think that would be great too, right? Like if all of us had a little bit of Dolly inside of us, like literally instead of just spiritually.
Yeah, the irony, because as a young man, one of my life goals was to get some of my stem cells into her. But it was totally, hey, but that's a comedy jokes. Look out, watch out, our rapping. So, hi, how are you doing? By the way, how was your? Did you give thanks? Were you a Thanksgiving person? Did you travel? We asked everybody else.
I got to celebrate a local Thanksgiving with my older son and his girlfriend, and I got to meet her parents for the first time. Things are serious. So
that's sweet.
We met the parents and her brothers.
You met the Fockers.
They're lovely, lovely people.
I believe you.
First of all, I adore my son's girlfriend. I think she's incredible. They're young. They're only 24. Jack will be 25 in January. But I told him, like, you don't have to spread it all over the world. Like, if you find your person and you're pretty cool with that being your person, stay with your person. I adore Danielle. I think she's amazing. I love how they are together. And her parents love him. And I'm very proud. My half Goyish son made a traditional Thanksgiving challah. It was like this big from scratch. The boy got up, young man, got up at 6 a.m. to proof the bread and then made a challah. And then challah, because he was raised by a proud Jewish mom. But also, once we were there, He
Mm-hmm.
made gravy from scratch, fresh from the turkey drippings out of the oven without being asked. He made sauteed mushrooms. And then when we were done, he cleared the table and did the dishes without being asked.
You done good,
I do
Tara
my
Dublin.
best.
Yeah,
I
you
do my
done
best.
good.
And then after I was done with that, I visited with some friends, and then I visited with another friend. And let's just say on Twitter, she calls herself the Mary Ganja Fairy, that friend of mine. And the Mary Ganja Fairy did bless me on Thanksgiving, for
Oh,
which
I
I am
see.
very thankful for.
So you
Because
ate a
now I
lot, is
don't
what you're saying. No.
I no, I'm actually really good. I don't sit down with a bag of Doritos post bong and just destroy that. I don't do that.
Well,
I'm really good
not
about
if
that.
it's a Thanksgiving,
No,
you
I
know.
mean there was some maybe leftover squash casserole that got consumed fairly quickly. But
Mm-hmm.
I will say that thanks to my Mary Ganja Fairy, I won't have to spend any money that I can't, because I don't have it, on purchasing legal weed, because now I have enough to hold me for several months. So I'm thankful for that too.
All right, yeah. Well,
And
I
then
it's always
what?
difficult to get like year-round weed for people in Portland because I
Yeah,
mean
no, because there
that's
isn't a dispensary next to every Starbucks.
yeah, that's the
So
month, the month long, it's a month every, in Portland is a year and change
it's
everywhere else. Yeah.
it's true. It's true, considering, and especially considering, I mean, so yesterday I did a silly thing, and I thought I could treat myself to pizza, and I should not have spent the money, but I did anyway, because I just wanted the best pizza in all of the world, and
Hmm.
which is just over the Burnside Bridge for me. And so I went there and I got my pizza, and as I was driving back, the universe was like, "You spent money, sucker!" And a homeless person threw a ball at my car, and it cracked my windshield. So I need to
Huh.
pay attention. I know. And I thought, is that a sign from the universe, or is it just, it's just an accident? It's just an accident, because Portland, unfortunately, has a homeless problem. And not, most of those people probably don't even know where they are or what they're doing, unfortunately, because they're not getting the mental health services that they so
Yeah, that's
desperately
not
need.
homelessness. I can, I've talked about this a bunch of times, and I think it's an important point to make. That when we talk about homelessness or homeless people, it sounds like they're a tribe.
No,
And
they're not.
they're not. There's a huge variety of human beings in different situations in these, and there are usually three solid camps on rotation. One is, of course, people who just fell through the cracks. They're living in their car with their kids or something, and it's things,
Right.
hard times. Even if it's based on they got fired because of alcoholism or downsizing or whatever it is, they're swiftly salvageable. They just need help during that transition phase, and
And
they'll
we're
be
all
back on
one
their.
paycheck away from being those people.
You're right.
Right.
And then the second group are people who have habitual alcohol and drug problems, but are not addled by it, but aren't maybe, are somewhere between, defensive against actually fixing themselves and just embracing the suck, as it were, and living in that zone, right? And that's a mix of people like the drug tourists in LA who, once it was okay to have any drug basically on your person and you couldn't get arrested, it was just talk about caravans. Like people came to downtown LA, and there are people, and those folks they live in camper vans that are full of gas and have, some of them have direct TV on the top of the fucking things. They park in Venice. I always used to see them around there.
We have
And
that here too.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to they go to the Mission District, get food from the Mission District that is for people who are living on the street and eat it. And that I feel is wrong. There's a mix of humans in there.
Yes.
Then there's people who I don't even know if calling them homeless it does any kind of a service to them, because they're never going to have a home. They're never even going to be able to manage an apartment. They are institutionless. The society as a whole needs like hardcore old-fashioned institutions to house some of these folks, because they don't know where they are. They don't know which way is up. They don't know what's real and what's not, and they're never going to. And those folks, they're more than any other homeless group, they're on us. I've been homeless a few times. How your way of simplifying has to be solved one individual at a time. I mean, you categorically, if you're setting up systems, emergency remedial truth in our chat room, you know what I'm talking about. You're talking about the people where jobs programs and a haircut and rent assistance and that kind of stuff will help. Then people who need a program and then that, and shelter while it happens. And then I'm talking specifically in terms of perhaps what Portland has more of, which is people who are they are mentally ill. They are. This isn't.
It's sad.
Even if it was caused by drugs, it's not going to be undone by drugs. Even if they are, if it's, biological, even the drugs they can be on are only going to stabilize them to a certain point. There are a lot of those folks on the street, and that's not on them. That's not even on what should be effectively the homelessness budget of any friggin' country, any city. It should be a federal institution system. And you know why? One of the reasons why Reagan killed that shit was, and it's a mythology that's grown ever since, is that Republicans have believed that left-wing communists are going to declare conservatism a mental disease and have them and use it to institutionalize people. This is one of the things that Ayn Rand believed, that they're going to institutionalize people who just are different than you. And that, now granted, Frances Farmer got a lobotomy because she was just high-strung and a drinker. So those thoughts weren't that weird back then. Now that's not the problem. And being able to institutionalize someone who is clearly incapable of saving their own life in an emergency is not an act of limiting their freedom. It's an act of a functional society saving their life. And the idea that you would open the door and let them walk out the minute they say, I'm fine, and you're like, who are you? I'm fine. Tell me who you are. I'm Napoleon. All right, get back in your room. You know what I mean? Those folks don't qualify as homeless to me. That's our failure as far as where they need, the help that they need. That's just my 2 cents.
Considering where I was in Portland, and for anybody who might be familiar, the
right.
base that when you're taking the Burnside Bridge, there is the Portland Rescue Mission is on one side of it.
Right.
And so there's always a collective out front of that, because basically as soon as they kick everybody out in the morning who had beds the night before, they line up again to get a bed for that night. And so, because the space is limited there. And so they collect there. And so anytime if you choose to walk over the Burnside Bridge, that's a hinky prospect. But if you're driving over the Burnside Bridge, you at least think, well, I have the protection of my vehicle and speed on my side. So, but in this particular instance, I saw this, and then it was on my windshield, and I saw the guy who did it. And for me to pull over, and he ran. So, it was like one of these, it was a jumpy, laughy.
He wasn't. I'm going out on a limb here, but he wasn't.
Right mind.
He wasn't by any chance wearing a T-shirt for your old radio station, was he?
No,
I know
sir. He was not.
Okay,
it was not a political motive. No one was following me. It wasn't me specifically.
Although that had to come up in your head, I suppose.
Nope.
Because of
nope.
the
No.
stuff.
It was just rando Burnside Bridge, Portland. No one does anything about any of the problems in Portland, and I just happened to be in the path of this person. And it's just one of those things. And you can either say, well, the universe is punishing me because I went out to spend $20 on pizza that I shouldn't have. Or you can say, well, the universe doesn't micromanage like that, lady. And it's very, very selfish of you to think that they were standing by and waiting to punish you. So I'm writing it off to, it's an accident. Accidents happen. I could not have done anything different except not go out. So, I'm not mad at him. My insurance is covering up everything up to $50. I'll get the windshield replaced on Wednesday. It's just the $50 that I have to spend right before I have to pay rent when I have bupkis in my bank account. So it's just one of those where it's like, these are the things that life might trip you up with at a time where you're like, hey, I'm already falling and stumbling enough, So it was just one of those,
I've told the stories many times. Yeah. I've told the stories many times
to worry about.
Yeah, of the and it is weird that you feel like an odd tinge of guilt feeding yourself with anything that tastes good when especially when you're going through some shit. It's a curious aspect of it, and I would argue that it's another example of weaponized empathy even towards yourself. And I would argue that
I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to eat food that tastes good because I don't have a job. It's just
well. Would you?
You have to stop
here's what I would
beating
say.
yourself up.
Yeah. Would you say that of anybody else who didn't have a job? Anybody else?
Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Like, what kind of an asshole would you have to be to go, why is that guy eating pizza? He's broke.
Exactly.
He lost his job. You shouldn't be eating pizza, man. You should be eating dry rice and and boiling water. Just drink boiling
Right.
water and eat dry rice.
And it's
Um,
like the people who say you shouldn't spend your SNAP money on anything but the healthiest possible food in the world.
sure.
So you should not buy a candy bar or ice cream or anything
Especially if you
that's
have
considered
children.
junk. Yeah, no, don't do that. No, no, no. It should all be kale and salmon. And brown rice is what you should spend your SNAP benefits on. So people have a lot of opinions on what other people should be doing instead of minding their own part. That's
Mhm.
just the history of the whole world right there. So but I just when it comes to stuff like that, I put on Twitter, oh shit, this happened to me, and kind people were like, well, let me buy you some pizza. So that was nice. So now
Mhm.
now that's covered and that's delightful. But and people are still buying my book, which is
Yep.
lovely. And here it is. Here it
Makes a
is.
great stocking stuffer if you have a
It
really wide
does.
stocking.
It does.
Um,
And also, I don't know if you know this, but I'm getting rave 5-star reviews while Marjorie Taylor Greene's ghostwritten crap
oh
book full of
yes.
lies and treason tanking beautifully. It's like ranked 10, like almost number 10,000 on Amazon, and the
Uh-huh.
reviews are scorching. Like
Here's the
Amazon turned off the reviews because so many people were one-starring it and blowing it up. And my favorite, like a lot of them, is like not even good enough for toilet paper and blah, 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 blah. My favorite review though is because the book is called MTG.
mhm.
Somebody wrote, "Hey, this book isn't about Magic the Gathering. I want my money back." My
She
book's getting 5-star reviews, though.
the
People should buy my book.
here's the weird part. Like, like maybe she just found like maybe there's like asshole GPT, but I don't know how do you hire a ghostwriter to do your like? Are you good with vitriol and bullshit? Like, how do
Some
you?
people can be bought. Some people can be bought. I think we know that because it's called the
Well,
Republican Party. But I mean,
apparently this person
or
was cheap and was still too expensive.
or this person was Dean Phillips. I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, we got to talk about that guy. But what I'm saying is and my favorite part of all of this also is Marjorie claiming to be this great American patriot and she loves America, America, America. Her book is printed in Canada, which is not America, printed in Canada by Donald Trump Jr.'s MAGA money laundering service, Winning Team Publishing.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're not the winning team, Junior, in any way when Marjorie Taylor Greene's book is tanking like this. But still, she'll make money from it, and the book will still make a profit because they're claiming to sell it for $30. And so the RNC will just buy that all up in bulk. And Marjorie will get a nice fat residual check for
Right.
participating. And I'm waiting to get my first royalty payout from Amazon. And if it comes when it's supposed to come, then I will pay my rent with that. And then there will be pennies going plink, plink, plink left over. So I would just ask that, and it's Cyber Monday. So come on, let's buy my book instead of Marjorie's book or Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse has a book. That shouldn't be allowed. That just shouldn't be allowed.
No, everything. People can write whatever book they want,
I
and it should
know.
always
It's
be.
just that this racket is bullshit. This actually talented writer. People love my book. They're demanding a sequel
Right.
and a streaming series. Hollywood needs to option this. Let's go.
Let's go.
And also,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Ken in our chat is pointing out that the RNC. One of the reasons why she's having such trouble is the RNC is not buying her book, and
They're not buying it from Amazon.
They're not buying it from anywhere because I mean, I suppose she's got supporters. She's got, because she was one of the biggest fundraisers. So she's got, on speed dial, she's got a couple of like right-wing QAnon lunatics who think that even though she's turned against QAnon, that she's doing it on the DL and it's just a whisper. She's gone into whisper mode, right?
Right, and she's got her 5-head boyfriend, Brian Glenn, pushing her book on his right-wing,
right,
subpar
to people who don't read.
Wannabe.
The irony that
right?
Elon Musk is trying to appeal to people who don't buy electric cars and never will, and and Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to sell a book to the same people.
To people who don't read.
Yeah,
she didn't read it. She didn't write it. It's just frustrating when all of this shit is going on and good people are out here going, hi, hi, I have good stuff over here. Hi.
Yep.
And Elon's like, I must suppress you. You are Jew. I will not, like whatever. Why the fuck is he in Israel, by the way? Why the fuck is Elon Musk talking to Netanyahu? Why? Why?
Well,
When, why?
fascinating as it may be. So for people that don't know, Elon Musk called Netanyahu and said he wanted to be a part of rebuilding Gaza after they flatten it. Essentially, I guess is the idea.
It's going to
But
blow
there's
that
only
up too.
wait let's for the record. I honestly. The reason he's there, because he's not a real estate guy, this is arguably something that Don Jr. and Eric would be the ones that show up. Has nothing to do with anything. His company, his alignment with his company and his XAI and all that kind of shit, the reason he wants a defense contract with Israel to, when they rebuild it, wire the fucking place and give Israel a backdoor to all the internet there. There is no other reason why you would have Elon Musk, who has no experience in city designing or any of this shit.
Or foreign policy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that again, he's not. I don't know that. Somebody was saying how I thought it was illegal for private citizens to conduct foreign policy. It's not foreign policy. He can spend his money wherever the fuck he wants to spend his money. So there's nothing illegal about what he's saying.
About in their meetings, we don't know.
Yeah, but
anything.
he can't dictate what the U.S. government does or make deals on behalf of the U.S. government. Nobody would believe that, neither, especially not Netanyahu. So that's not what's happening. What's happening is he's trying to move the zone of SpaceX and Tesla and some of the technology around his little fucking robot stuff that he's been building on. He wants a security wing, because if his takeover of Twitter shows anything, is that he's willing to do business with fucking anybody. And right now he gets his aluminum for his Teslas that are built in China from Russia. That's why he has Vladimir Putin on speed dial. It's why he talks to Xi Jinping's people all the fucking time. That he doesn't care. He does not care. He is as Ayn Randian as you fucking can possibly get. And if he's trying to talk to Netanyahu, it's not because he believes that he wants to build playgrounds for Palestinians once the children are able to come back. It's because he will provide the technology to implant, surveillance technology in every, 8 feet of concrete in the whole fucking place. That's why. 100%. Whether you believe that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's why he's there.
Well, I mean, just the optics of him standing next to Netanyahu. It's all around awful.
Well, assholes. Yeah, assholes hang.
Considering he hates Jews, it's extra bad to see Elon standing.
Well, that's the other reason why he's there, is to try to push back against this. And the other thing too is
because he keeps tweeting about how much he hates Jews. So
well, it's also his again, there's this substructure of the of like the Joe Rogan offshoot Elon Musk boys that make this difference between the tribes of Judea, the other 11 tribes, and the Ashkenazis, and the Jews are the Ashkenazis, and everybody else are the old tribes of Israel, and they're the real Jews. They have this kind of
fuck ever.
Yeah, this is like this. No, I'm dead serious. This is,
I know you are, but I think I'm Ashkenazi.
Oh, it's
100%. I don't think I'm better than anybody, because I'm not. So, because it's all stupid and subjective.
Right. And I'm not Jewish at all. And I think I'm better than a lot of people. So I think it's totally unfair.
So, and I don't run the banks or the media. And I don't care what Elon says. I do not. Because if I did, no offense, Hal, but I'd be too busy to talk to you on your podcast, because I'd be busy running things.
I don't have a podcast. I have a live stream.
I'd probably be shopping with all my money.
You
I'd be
definitely
shopping
would.
with all my Soros money on my mega yacht.
Pizza in one hand and a professional bodyguard throwing things at homeless people who any of them that approach your car in true Elon Musk fashion.
Correct. I would have a reinforced car that's like steel, like the Batmobile, to make sure that no one could break my windshield. I would spend all my money. Actually, I would spend my money helping other people if I had Elon money.
Yeah,
but anyway, that I would. And there's so many things I want to do just here in Portland, or help my friends, like my musician friends and my artist friends, and all of the people who are, struggling. If I was bestowed with Elon money, there's so much good I could do. And I think about that a lot. And I think about, someday I'm going to sell my book to Hollywood, and I'm going to make money off of my book, The Sound of Settling. And I will be, there was a tarot on TikTok who was like, you are going to be a millionaire from something you made at home. And I'm like, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Right.
Goddamn right I am. And so when that happens, because it's going
So
to
am I.
happen.
This is what I made at home. This whole
Well,
nonsense.
you know what? We should be good people should be rewarded regardless of how long it takes. I'm ready to be an overnight sensation at the age of 54. So what and all of the things that you and I and all of us out here in the world who are just trying to get the truth to be louder than the propaganda, like it's really, I think more. I saw a friend. I don't know if you know the writer Chuck Wendig. He's wonderful. Chuck is amazing, and today he writes a lot. Yeah, he's great. He has left Twitter. A lot of people are posting on Facebook about leaving Twitter now.
Yeah, going to Threads for real. Yeah,
going anywhere else because it's basically like being in Spandau prison. And they don't like it, and they don't like that Nazis are running free, and it's basically gab and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And my take is I'm not letting Nazis run me off because I was here before the Nazis, and I'm going to stay. And I would love to believe that, because Elon is losing so much money for his investors, that they might be like, hey.
Tara Dublin is the cellist on the Titanic. I love it. Yeah.
You know what? There has to be something that resembles optimism from the right, from the left, because we're not actually doing as badly as the right wants everybody to believe.
Right.
So.
Oh, I use it as a dunking spot. It's a shit posting site as far as I'm concerned. And since they decided to take it over, I can fight fire with water. So I will show up and throw sand on their arguments or water on their arguments or flood the zone and then go bye. And I don't even care about the response because half of it ain't fucking real anyways.
Right.
Most of it, 80%.
Yeah. And there's no point in reporting any of the anti-Semitic tweets because they don't do anything about them.
Yeah.
But what I do when I get the anti-Semitic tweets, particularly over the last couple of weeks, I screenshot them and I tag Linda Yaccarino, who doesn't do her job. I would love to be paid $6 million and bonuses to ignore Twitter. In fact, if Elon would like to pay me what he pays Linda, I'll leave Twitter.
To not do anything?
I would leave Twitter.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's it's almost $10 million that Linda's getting. And she also hired her own son to help them destroy Twitter from within and help the Republican Party. So Elon,
which was the directive of the Saudis after the Arab Spring. Let's be abundantly clear. The response to Twitter after the response about Twitter after the Arab Spring was this fucking thing's got to go because it is the primary thing that people are using, and if they fall to Telegram, it's all on a server in Russia, so we can make a fucking phone call and shut that down. But we couldn't shut down Twitter, so we need somebody to jump on there. And Facebook is too full of stuff. The immediacy of Twitter is what made it so dangerous, and so they set about a plan to destroy the fucking thing.
That is correct. And that
was his job. That's what they paid him for. That's why they backed him. That's why they gave him the money to do it. And it's what he's got her doing. She's getting paid a lot of money to do her job. Her job is exactly what's happening. It's not, the illusion of her job or the label of her job. Yeah.
Right. It's to ignore all of the terrible and paint this beautiful whitewashed picture of what they're doing. But meanwhile, there are plenty of us still there. Whenever Linda tweets, she's like, oh, the NBA did this. And I'm like, really? Here's a tweet from the NBA next to a tweet slamming a transgender woman. Is this what the NBA wants? Is this what the NFL wants? Because advertisers are leaving Twitter in droves. So I'll say to Elon
that's
right
what the
now,
lawsuit was about.
Yeah. Pay me what you're paying Linda Yaccarino and I'll leave Twitter. I will. No, I'm not kidding. I won't need it. If you pay me $10 million, I won't fucking need Twitter. Bye. Seriously.
He should just UBI all the people that he doesn't like their content. Just pay him $1,000 a month to not post.
Sure. You want to make sure that this mouth isn't stopping Dean Phillips? Sure, try it. So it's going to cost you a lot of money, though.
Yes, agreed. Okay, so a couple of things. We'll go through some stories with you, just because I find some of this shit so stunningly ironic that it's hard to even grasp how the Fox News response. And the primary one, if I may, would be, let's just start with something light, though. White House unveils holiday decorations. So the White House, see these? This is, if you are young
nice and
you have only really remembered Christmas with Fuck Christmas Melania, you might think that where are all the bloody stalagmites, right? And
do people not know what what holiday decorations are supposed to look like?
Apparently
Like
not.
tastefully appointed,
Go
warm and
fucking
inviting
figure,
for
right?
all denominations.
Yeah. It's just
Looks nice to me.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Look at
Look at the
that.
representation. Look, there's
It's
more than just Christians. Great.
Yep.
Yay, America.
Yeah,
Thank you, Joe and Jill.
that's right. And
I didn't get my invitation to the White House holiday party like some of my friends in the resistance, but that's okay.
Ooh.
Maybe next year.
La la la.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well,
I approve. I don't
yeah.
care. Enjoy your holiday, whatever it is. I'm not here to yuck anybody's yummy holiday business, and you know that, Hal.
I know that.
Look how pretty and festive.
I know. Isn't that nice? Look at that. And then
tidings of comfort and joy.
Go figure, right? And and the other thing is like it just looks wonderfully normal. You know, and again, for those that are going Judeo/Christian, I would argue that this is actually all of what you're seeing here, for the record,
pagan.
are Northern European, pagan, and Norse traditional holiday decorations.
Literally nothing we do.
Squint a little bit, here, and it's really easy to imagine, Nordic tribes and the original derivations of a lot of these fucking things. Where the fuck do you think the holly came from? You think you think there's holly in Jerusalem, you lunatic? So,
what are you decking the halls with? Here's some more sand from the desert.
All those reindeer in Jerusalem. Good Lord.
Woo, yeah, because it's and so that temperate there.
I wanted to show that. That is the. I'm pretty sure that is the Biden's nativity scene that they've had in their family for fucking ever.
And that's one of those
guy
things,
right here.
Isn't it? It's interesting to me that two men that I admire very much, who are lifelong devoted Catholics and have lived through unimaginable tragedy, and I speak of Joe Biden and Stephen Colbert.
Right.
I admire them greatly, and they are two men who have lived their lives with their faith present, but it's like a very dignified and quiet faith where they don't try to convert anybody. They're like
genuinely represent it.
Right. Yeah. This is my belief system, even through unimaginable tragedy that others would forsake their God for. Mm-hmm. Instead, it made me more resilient in my faith. That's the kind of faith I admire. I don't necessarily have to agree or support it, but like I admire you because you live your life in the way that your faith informs you, instead of the way the hypocritical fake Christians do. And so when I see a display like that from the White House, from the Biden White House, it's on several levels. It's we're representing all Americans, but we are also representing our belief system that we are comfortable sharing with you, because that's what America was founded on.
Right.
Is you being able to practice the way you want to talk to your sky daddy any way you want, with no one shitting on it.
Right. Except when they call it Sky Daddy and
I'm allowed to do that as an atheist and the First Amendment. But what I'm saying is, it's the freedom to say that.
Yes,
it's the freedom to practice it and to display it any way you want. You want to put up your Christmas tree the day after Halloween, go right ahead anymore. Like, get all the joy that you can.
We waited till Thanksgiving weekend. What are you talking about?
Good for you. See, that's appropriate. That's appropriate because when we were kids, you heard not one note of a Christmas song or saw one piece of tinsel in the store until at least the day after Thanksgiving. That was back in the day, pre-internet, before retailers had to compete with the internet. So don't you? And I think only Nordstrom now honors this, and you won't see Christmas stuff in Nordstrom until after Thanksgiving because we don't know how to live in the moment anymore. But if you're going to do that, if you were going to make the holidays start on October 31st and you're going to keep it festive, okay. Anything that makes you happy and gives other people happiness, like let's encourage that and not shit on it. Just because it's not yours doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not a thing that you do. You know, like some people don't eat turkey on Thanksgiving. They have other food.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's because it's not
Stop telling people what to do.
Well, it was never about the food itself. And turkey became the symbol of the food that they had, when largely it would have been, any number of pheasant in the area that they used.
Or fish or any other wild game.
The original date of the Thanksgiving dinner that we reference is in 1621, I think. And then it became a holiday after the Civil War as a as a bridge holiday to try and bring people together. That old Lincoln trying to get everybody to sit at the same table and
Can't we all just
show a
get along?
situation where previously warring people had sat down and didn't kill each other as an example of possibility. And if they can do it, you can do it with your family.
I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what we're all supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And instead we're all like a week before Thanksgiving going, oh God, I don't want to talk about politics at Thanksgiving. How can we avoid politics at Thanksgiving? What's this Thanksgiving going to be? Oh my God. There was no politics at my Thanksgiving, believe it or not. There was none.
Mm-hmm.
Because my son's girlfriend's family we had better things to talk about.
Sure.
You know? And and we talked about this last time when I was on. We were both like, really, dude, at Thanksgiving is the best way to diffuse any political arguments that might come up at an otherwise celebratory occasion. And I think we should keep that going through the holidays. Hanukkah is early this year, so we can start that early. And then I'm happy to share my Hanukkah with anybody who wants to. And the other issue the other issue is that this Hanukkah, more than other previous Hanukkahs, people are afraid to display their menorahs in their windows because now they're afraid their windows are going to get broken because too many people are attacking Jewish Americans because of what's happening in the Middle East. And that is really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid. Like, please, it's not my fault that Hamas are fucking terrorists. And I got, you were talking about this earlier and I was listening, and because it's so nuanced and there are so many different things and people are getting mixed messages and the media is not covering it correctly. There's a woman that I know in Portland who totally fucking jumped my shit on Twitter when we heard that the hostages were being released, that Biden had negotiated the release of hostages. Oh, but it wasn't enough. And it wasn't this and it wasn't that. And he also didn't cure cancer. So, and then you find out that he has been negotiating this release and this temporary pause or whatever you want to use the ceasefire. Whatever you want to call it, that he negotiated it basically from day one. He just did it from behind closed doors because he's not an oaf ingrate throwing around stolen classified documents at a Mar-a-Lago pool party. So everyone's like, Joe Biden's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. Fuck you. He's been doing everything from day one. And basically, please show me your solution to end Hamas terrorism and the slaughter of innocents when nobody who's a foreign policy expert can, including the president of the United States, who's been a lifelong public servant and honed his foreign policy skills 8 years as vice president with Obama. So I'm fighting with this woman and she keeps saying the word genocide and everybody is misusing that word. Yeah. And people are coming for her and jumping her shit. And she was like, really, Tara, I would think Jewish American, you would think this. And I'm like, well, you cannot speak for me, and you're why people think all white women in Portland are like this. It's crazy. It's crazy. And that Joe Biden did this wonderful thing and that Hamas may be actually okay with extending the pause for a couple of more days to release more hostages. And people are like, how? This is why this is bad for Biden in 2024. And Dean Phillips is out there trying to challenge Joe Biden. Is like, could any of you have done this? And think about this for just a brief hot moment. Do you want Donald Trump being the guy negotiating a very delicate international hostage crisis? I don't think you do.
Well, let me show you an example. Let me give you an example of the kind of what we're sort of up against in the languaging of it. Now, I grew up, and I'm sure you experienced this as well, especially, I would say, late 90s into the early 2000s. There was this premise that in the American media, we don't hear anything that's real, and you have to go to foreign sources to get the real shit. And a lot of times when we would say that, ironically enough, we would talk about the UK. And largely papers that were run, we now know, by Rupert Murdoch and Piers Morgan, editorial, like stealing, having one of his reporters who stole a dead girl's phone, and like her parents got texts that she had sent when the phone came back on, thought she was alive, just torturing these folks, like horrible shit. These folks, and the obvious like tabloid aspect of British press being what it is. This is an article from the Telegraph. Duplicitous Joe Biden is forcing an Israeli surrender.
He's what now?
Yeah. Joe Biden is no friend of Israel. His constant
Duplicitous.
appeasement of Tehran and blatant distraction from Jerusalem, even refusing to invite Netanyahu to the White House, as well as his feeble response to an Iranian-sponsored attacks against U.S. forces in the region, have only weakened the Israeli government's hand in fighting terrorism. So the attack was Biden's fault, is part of the conversation on top of that.
Wow, that's a lot. And so I would say, well,
Meanwhile,
you and
here's
I
video
realize
of,
that's...
Yeah, it's nuts. Meanwhile, here's a kid.
biased language, right?
Yeah, here's some hostages
oh my God.
who are fucking alive and going home.
Did you see the one where the girl thought her father was? They told her her father was dead, and then he wasn't dead, and they finally reunited. Oh my God! The crying is endless over this. The emotional toll that it takes, and just seeing these children traumatized. And there are these fucking assholes out there. There's some woman who was like, there was a photo of a teenage girl who was a hostage who was being released, and her arm was up like this in a photo. And she was like, well, I don't know, maybe hostages are being treated well by Hamas because she's waving goodbye to her captors. You don't know what the fuck she's doing, and you don't know what the fuck she's been through. And I would say that hostages probably aren't treated very well by Hamas terrorists, considering they're okay with beheading children. So
let's be abundantly clear. See this kid right here? This kid is let's see if I can bring like the image up. That kid
my
right
God.
there.
It's like, that's my son or whatever.
Me
right?
too. My kid's about his size. And I saw that video and I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's like the idea that they would just have hold of him and they'd be using him as leverage. I mean, you think about children. And Russia, by the way, for the record, Russia still has tens of thousands of Ukrainian children that they are teaching to hate their parents and trying to raise as as the next generation of fucking soldiers. And like again, while people are, rightly dealing with what's going on in Israel and the the Gaza Strip right now, that's still a thing, and it's ongoing. There's going to be war crime tribunals just about how the Russians have treated and abducted children during that time. And I'm telling you,
it's unimaginable.
If the kids don't acquiesce to being under their control, they just fucking kill them.
Yeah,
and there's also toss them out a fucking window, and it's like, oh, motherfucker. So the idea that. And by the way, can I just say for the record that, let me see if I get a better picture. See this kid right here?
Oh my God. He looks like my son when my son was 12.
Me too.
With glasses. The same body shape. So, I mean, it's just to think of your child.
For the record, Hassan Abi thinks he is an enemy combatant. That he is a lawful target of war. And we're not talking about like the collateral damage that happens when Israel says, get out of this building, we're going to bomb this building because it's a site, and Hamas keeps people from leaving, or any of that stuff, or an explosion catches somebody else, or kills people because it's a war. We're talking about people who traveled in specifically with the purpose of abducting or slaughtering people like this. Yeah.
And
for the record, he has said this. Hamas, that's why they're calling him Hamas Abi right now. Cenk's nephew thinks this kid, he literally said there are baby settlers. Therefore, babies are settlers. Therefore, if you can kill a settler, you can kill one of the babies in the settler camps because kids are responsible for the crimes of their fucking parents. Like, get the fuck out of here.
They are not. So
no, they are not. They never are. They never will be. That it's not Palestinian kids' fault when Hamas uses them as human shields, and and if they were given half an opportunity to know what the rest of the world was like, I have no doubt they would be just like this kid. They'd probably play together. Yeah. So
because you have to be carefully.
Yeah,
taught
Cenk's nephew has a huge.
Fear.
He has a huge following on Twitch. He's got he's considered like an uber lefty, and he said there are baby settlers, and if you're a settler,
no, there are not.
It's so fucking stupid.
Damn it.
It's just awful. Same thing with Second Thought, who's probably the biggest socialist YouTuber that specifically does socialism videos. That dude's stuff. And by the way, he also has another channel where he drives hot rods because he's a fucking millionaire, like all these other like champagne socialist Marxist millionaire dickheads. But to them, babies are targets. They are fine. And it's weird to me that you're like, oh, okay, then I don't understand why you're bitching about Nagasaki and Hiroshima then.
And then,
right?
well, then you should be okay with abortion.
Yeah, right. Well, they definitely are.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that, but like even right-wing people are like, kill them all. Blah, blah. Well, you're not really the pro-life party, are you?
Yeah, right. So I don't understand how a kid is innocent until the second they're born. Even by the extreme religious belief of original sin.
Right. What's the fuck is that shit?
If you're a human since conception, then you have original sin from the very second. That's why in, I want to say, it's not Deuteronomy, part of Exodus, you can take the baby from the mother's womb and bash its head on the rock. That kind of like, that's why that's allowed, because it's already sinful. Yeah, until it's turned.
It horrifies me on every possible level. That you're not, any harm done on a child.
Yeah,
any harm.
Never.
I don't understand it. I don't understand harming a child or acting violently towards a child. And I also think that anybody who takes the life of a child should be killed in the same way that child went out. But that's just me speaking as a mother.
Right. Well, that's what I was talking about.
I would never stop. If somebody touched one hair on either of my sons' heads, they would never, ever hear the end of it from me. I would never let them rest. That's just the mama bear coming out. So,
every child born is a Muslim. Is that what they you mean that's what they think? Or that's what it said? Like, because the Bible, like that part of the Bible was written before Islam existed. So
cults are bad. Cults are very bad. Groupthink is bad. And again, some of this is about land, but some of this is about religion, and some of this is about,
it's always about land. I got news for you. Like, this is you can boil down. Yeah, you can boil down. Like, people can make it about whatever whoever they've convinced to do the fighting on their behalf. The guys in charge are fighting over territory and effectively the riches of an area. And in many ways, imagine, if you will, if Ivanka and Don Jr. and Eric decided to divide up the Trump company and its real estate holdings and went to war with each other about who was the big heir, the actual heir to it, right? And Ivanka wanted it to be that if she passes away, her husband qualifies, and if she has an adopted kid, that kid would get it. And Don Jr. says, no, it's only people named Donald. And Eric believes that it has to be a direct descendant of himself. So Don Jr. would be naming all his children Donald and passing it down that line. And Eric would be any kid he had would qualify. And then Ivanka would be anybody who's even tangentially, part of our family can be part of it and declare themselves the leader if everybody else gets wiped out. And each one of those points has a militarily defensible position. There's a reason why she would say that, because if they try to kill her, it won't matter, because if she has a cousin fucking 10,000 miles away, they can, or 3,000 miles away, they can come back and take over. Whereas the Don Juniors go, we'll just name another Don Jr. We'll name everybody Don Jr., like George Foreman, and one of them will survive and rise again. Or if somebody just gives them the name after another generation of hiding, they can come back and seal it their own. And Eric's just a fucking moron. But that's how the Abrahamic, that's a fairly decent description of how the Abrahamic traditions have worked out. And that's the belief system. That's how it works. And the Shia and Sunni back and forth, that's very distinctly what that is. Like, I'm going to mix them up. I think the Sunni, it has to be a direct descendant of Muhammad to be the leader of Islam. And with Shia, and I might be swapping them, but Shia, like, it can be any of the imams that rise up, kind of like a pope. You can pick another person. It doesn't have to be familial lineage. One is more monarchical, and the other one is more like Catholicism, in that we pick a new pope and that person's the boss until he dies and somebody else takes over. And that's the big split. That's the split between the Muslim Brotherhood and the Saudis. That's the split between Egypt and Hamas. That's the difference between Jordan and Syria, let's say. So, like, honestly, that is how that's how this decision is being made. And that's, from an American standpoint, lunacy. Fuck, I was pissed when we had 2 George W. Bushes. What the shit was that? I don't want anybody. And then I find it fascinating that everybody was flipping out about Hillary Clinton running and becoming president one day because her husband was president. I'm like, You pass it father to fucking son like it's a goddamn monarchy. We're supposed to shrug that shit off. But the woman who was next to the president the entire time he was running shit, advised him on a bunch of shit, and certainly knows how every fucking thing works, and is her own person from her own separate genetic line. There's no, like, what? All right. Nah,
but her
anyways.
emails, Hal. But
That's
her
right.
emails.
More like butter
Fuck
vagina.
that.
Let's be honest.
I mean, real. It's just. It was. I mean, just
butter
the
uterus.
fact that Michael Steele, the former head of the RNC, admitted that all of that shit that the Republicans were pushing about her was all manufactured in the early 90s because they saw her as the threat to their party that she is, because she sees right through them. She has always been right about Trump. She had him nailed dead to rights from the earliest parts of her campaign. She's predicted things that are only happening now. She was right about fucking everything, and she will continue to be right about everything. And it doesn't matter how many times you tweet the word Benghazi. It doesn't make it less true that she was the rightfully elected 45th president. The people spoke. And the people chose her overwhelmingly. And it makes me mad that
I agree.
happened. Here's a point. Here's a point that somebody made. What? Somebody made a point that if Donald Trump believes that he really won the 2020 election, then he can't run for a third term.
Yeah.
Why is he running?
By the way, that is one of the reasons why, the fact that he did win and lose, but that's one of the reasons why the big evangelical church movements aren't backing him. The big one in Iowa is not backing him, and he's all pissed at the evangelical churches attorney because they are all going, we need somebody who can be in for 8 years, and he can only serve 4. No matter what the fuck he does, because they don't believe any of his bullshit.
I hadn't thought about that.
Right, and you and I wouldn't, because he's never going to be president again. But they're thinking in terms of their agenda and what they want to actually have happen, and that's going to require somebody who's in the office for 8 years, and he can't be.
No, he can't. And here's the other thing: we have to keep hammering the fact that Donald Trump will be either sitting in or avoiding a courtroom. For the rest of his miserable life, he doesn't have time to go out on the campaign trail. That's why he shows up at a random football game and gets booed on a Saturday night, because he has to go back to court on Monday. So, with people saying, well, Biden can't beat Trump. Well, first of all, he did already. So yes, he could. But
and he will.
And if the Republican Party really thinks they want to
beat him by
themselves.
I'm predicting he will beat him by 1 million more votes than Hillary beat him the first time around, and still maintain the electoral college win that he had before. That's what's going to happen in next year's election.
That's one way of looking at it, but the other way is there was a story I saw this morning that the Republican Party is they have nothing in the coffers. They have about $9 million left. They can't raise any money. The Democratic Party is blowing them out of the water. And one of the reasons they can't raise money, Romney, is because Donald Trump is the presumptive nominee for your party. Right. And there are too many people who don't
waste
want
fucking money.
Why don't you cut your losses
they know he won't win.
now? They have to find somebody who can actually stay on a campaign trail, who doesn't have to go to court, who wasn't arrested 94 times on 91 charges, who wasn't found liable of raping E. Jean Carroll. They have to find somebody who's not that guy. Okay? I think honestly, their guy is not Dean Phillips. Their guy is not RFK Jr. Their guy is actually Chris Christie. So he's the only one, right? I mean, I'm not a fan of Chris Christie.
I wouldn't
ever say
well, here's the thing. Nikki Haley will never be president. Because the Republicans will not vote for a brown woman. End of fucking discussion. They're not going to vote for a woman unless they're driven to it. If you ran the ghost of Hugo Chavez as the Democratic, they would come out of the woodwork to vote for a woman, holding their nose the whole fucking way. Right. But they're never going to vote for a fucking brown woman. That's just insanity. And
it is.
She could talk all the sense she wants, or be as traditionally conservative, or check all the fucking boxes.
She doesn't check any of them because she denies her heritage. Her own party doesn't recognize her as a full human. Right. But, I don't understand her. I mean, I don't understand Republican women, period, because it's like, keep punching yourself in the fucking face. Right. Mm-hmm. But the normalization of Trump as a candidate really needs to stop. And that conversation begins in the media. Like, the media has to stop treating him like a viable candidate, because he's not. And if we had a Democrat who dared run for any office, who had a fraction of this horrific, had been arrested one time,
Mm-hmm.
would not be, we'd be like, no, you're not running. No, look
Yeah.
how hard we're trying
We're
to
not-
pull Bob Menendez out.
Exactly.
So,
We're not
right?
like,
So,
nobody's
come on.
floating him. Nobody believes he has a future in the party at all, much
No.
less in a major office. What the fuck?
And nobody is backing you, Dean Phillips. Dino Dino. Drop out Dean has been trending for 2.5 days on Twitter because nobody wants him. And he actually responded to me on Twitter.
Ooh.
We had a back and forth because he's like, okay, ask me anything. And I'm like, okay, great. When are you dropping out? Because no Democrats back you. And he's like, well, I'm here to defeat Trump. I'm like, no, you're fucking not. You're working with Steve Schmidt, who's a Republican. What are you doing? And I mean, and I will say over and over again that polls are bullshit. But somebody put up a poll yesterday and it was like Biden, 66%, Marianne Williamson, 6%, Dean Phillips, 3%.
Right.
So that's not even a race. You're not even, that's nothing. You're not even,
And that's
you
6
haven't
and
even
3.
gotten
Those
to
are
the
people who didn't vote before and they're not going to next time. It's like,
and Marianne
it's a yap.
Williamson come on, like the mothership will come back and beam her up again, and she'll come back in another 4 years to pretend that she's running for president again. But I went back and forth with Dean Phillips because I was like, you're not a Democrat because you're letting a Republican run your campaign. And why are you doing that? And instead of answering me, he's like, well, I'll tell you what, if the polls show that Biden can't beat Trump on blah, blah. I'm like, no, because he already beat Trump. And then he said, well, how about you agree? And I said, hey, listen. And he was like, well, I love talking to haters on Twitter. I'm like, why are you talking like a MAGA when you're a Democrat? So I responded to that.
It's like Vivek Ramaswamy bullshit.
It's the exact same rage-inducing language, right? And it's incendiary language to get us to be like, ah. So,
you're not important enough for me to hate.
No, exactly. And you're not really a threat. And what are you doing? And so my response to him was, I'm not a hater. I'm a lifelong Democrat who's really tired of you and other people, treating our political system like a joke because Donald Trump flung his loaded diaper all over it. And we have accepted so much abnormalcy as our new normal. And I'm tired of it. And he immediately responds, goes, we're on the same team. And I was like,
no,
great,
we're not.
I'm on the team that's voting for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Nice to have you with us. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, whatever it is that you and Steve Schmidt think you're doing, you're not going to get away with it on our watch. Stop it. Stop trying to take away votes from Joe Biden when Democrats need to be united behind him. Stop using MAGA language. Steve Schmidt can get all the way bent because I understand wanting to defeat Trump, but I do not understand you pairing yourself with a Democratic representative to leech votes from Joe Biden, who, by the way, doing a fucking awesome job.
Seriously.
That's the other part of it. We need to keep reinforcing the great job Joe Biden is doing. There's plenty of information from the White House official website to Joe Biden standing up and saying, here's what I just did. I just released all these hostages because I'm a fucking badass and I'm your daddy. He doesn't say it like that, but that's the message. So the thing is that we have to continue to try to be louder than the lies and the bullshit, like that article from the Telegraph and all of that bias stuff is like, Joe, genocide Joe, fuck you. Stop saying genocide. He doesn't back genocide. He doesn't love genocide. He doesn't love death. Donald Trump does, though. Remember when Donald Trump tried to release 5,000 Taliban? So
for the record, all the people that I've seen who call him Genocide Joe also fully say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, meaning the elimination of Israel and all the Jews in it. It's this,
they also just jump on anything that sounds catchy and alliterative.
Right, but what I'm saying is that it's this. There's a huge overlap in those folks that are literally backing Hamas's genocidal mandate. Period. So, the blindness on their side, it's very interesting. And there's a lot of overlap, like I said, and I think a good portion of it is online bullshit, that it's puffery.
Well, of course it is. There's a lot of it is
one-to-one humans are a lot more real about this. Here's a couple of things, like stories that are driving me crazy. I just wanted to show you before we get near where we're running out of time. This is an article. This is in Barron's, and this goes to the whole, we have so much liquid gold under our feet that if we just drill, baby, drill, blah, 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 blah.
One.
If you do drill, baby, drill, oil prices are already going down.
Ted Cruz. Sorry.
Right.
I can't help that.
I love this right now because, again, this is why the Saudis bought Trump, was to help sell this bullshit. And here it is. Flap. Yeah. 75-37. Let's see if the 5 days on here. Yeah, there we go.
When are people going to catch on that the country does better when there's a Democrat in the White
Yep.
House? When?
Yep.
How
7%.
many more
Oil's down
recoveries
7%
do we have to
this
show
year.
you?
Yeah. Already.
How many more, though? Seriously. How
Here's
many more
ano-
recoveries?
Yeah. Here's another one.
Jesus Christ.
Climate change. You know, there's
Uh-oh.
all this news has been made about Biden's not going to be at the COP29, COP28, whatever. And he's not going to be there because we're already doing our fucking part. We don't need to be convinced. He's done the two greatest leaps forward in environmental, both technology and regulation that we've seen in 100 fucking years since anybody started giving a shit, in the infrastructure bill and in the Inflation Reduction Act. Right. And that's why everybody's going, the Green New Deal, the Green New Deal. And we're like, the Green New Deal didn't happen. You're like, well, it kind of is. Well, it kind of is because we're making real investments in long-term renewable energy. And it's fucking oil prices. That's what that is. That's a lack of demand, folks. Secondly, there was for those who are like, I don't believe it, that climate is affecting anything. The Crimea, literally, now. Russia's front line, their defense line, was in Crimea, was washed away.
Wow!
By a huge flood, a storm on. Let's see if there's. Yeah, here you go. Hurricane winds of up to 40 meters per second were ripping out trees and tearing off roofs all over Crimea. Districts of Yevpatoria are flooded. Public transport has been halted in Sevastopol. Apparently, God is on the side of the Ukrainians right now. Yeah.
I mean, Mother Earth is rightfully pissed at the way we treat her. So there's every reason for the Earth to retaliate. Look at the crack under Iceland and the volcanoes. I mean, the Earth does better when there are no humans upon it. So I would posit that I'm on the side of nature here. I'm just gonna always, nature will prevail.
That's the footage of it.
Way.
These are people leaving Crimea because they fucking should. But in the middle of this, citizens and old people in there that Russia basically parks there as human shields, like everything Hamas does as far as using human shields, the Russians have perfected that shit in the Donbass for years. Since they started pumping civilians. Yeah, they started pumping in civilians into the areas they seized in 2014, and then into Crimea, and basically just effectively financing people's quote unquote vacations in Crimea, so that the beaches are all full of civilians in case the Ukrainians or anybody else tried to take it back. Storm washed away trenches in occupied Crimea that the Russian army had dug out on the beaches. Gerashenko wrote on X, according to information from Crimean media, in Yevpatoria, the water washed away the defense line on the coast, engineering buildings, and firing positions. Goodbye. And then, and then, of course, on the tail end of this, the UK's top UFO expert gives his verdict on the 10 aliens that our government has found. Apparently, we have...
Really?
Apparently,
I'm so excited. Who are they?
We are hiding one alien body or 10. Doesn't matter whether we're hiding 1 or 10, but it would fundamentally change everything. He's the Ministry of Defense's UFO desk in the UK, Nick Pope, has responded to claims by whistleblower David Grush, who alleges the U.S. government has retrieved at least 10 extraterrestrial bodies. 9, because I escaped.
Is it a cat? Is an alien a cat?
No. That's what we should do to them.
It will come to you in the form of a cat. Do not trust it.
Right. It will suck your soul out. That's this guy.
Aliens?
Do
you think the government is hiding aliens or sitting on information that would scare the shit out of people of the world about aliens? Do you think that's real?
No.
There's so many people who think it's real.
I think there's a strong possibility that there might have been... As you
wear your NASA jacket.
Yeah, so. That there might have been crash technology in the idea. I just happen to think that if aliens, when they first arrive here, when they're bugging around, it's not... They would never send organic beings into the area if they don't have to. We send drones places. Why the hell would they send flesh and, and maybe, unless it's just their thing, they're into it. And again, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but the idea that in humanity's race to go from the steam engine to nuclear power and space travel in less than 200 years. Our advancement as a species has got to be some kind of a record somewhere. So I wouldn't doubt it if people came on, these assholes are still stoning each other to death in parts of the world. Maybe we should keep an eye on them. That's not weird at all to me. That makes a lot of fucking sense. If I was the rest of the universe, I'd park a fucking Coast Guard carrier off of our shore, and check in every so often.
Just find out when they can start harvesting the souls. Just come on up with us. We'll take you away to a better life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I welcome any, for me, it always goes back to proof though. Like, I'm not scared of the idea that there might be,
I don't believe in air unless I can
planets.
see it. In
Portland you can. So
yeah, it's true.
But what I'm saying is, it's like, if they have aliens in a warehouse somewhere in New Mexico, I'm not scared. Show it. It's mostly about the fear of the unknown, and if you're able to capitalize on people's fears and control them via fear, like the Republicans do, like dictators do, that's a very successful lane
this is
for
farther.
you.
This is beyond
it's profitable.
that. Though. This is the opposite argument in terms of why they would hide it, because the idea is that the reality of this would be so terrifying that it would cause worldwide chaos, especially amongst the devoutly religious.
No.
Because they would want to race to the end the quickest. And if they would bring about an Armageddon-like behavior on behalf of the jihadis or the end timers or the fucking Uber preppers or whoever the shit's out there that are like, that's it, the aliens are coming, that's the sign, pull the string on your fucking vest. That's why traditionally why they hid it. They apparently did, they focus grouped it as part of, like government programs in the 50s. They sat people down and said, we're going to show you a real alien and real alien technology, and this is what we really found this out. And they're telling people, you're going to be the first. We just need to know how people are going to react, so we're going to show you you're part of a select group. And a couple of people did themselves in, and a bunch of the other people started just like they lost all connection because they couldn't tell their family, but they also just couldn't connect with nothing mattered anymore, and that kind of stuff. They're like, this is probably not good. Yeah, because what the fuck? If we live here on this rock and we're just waiting for a superior alien race to show up and treat us like pets, a good portion of the earth would just lie flat, as it were, right?
That's true.
That's the problem. And the religious would go, well, then fuck this, I'm out. And there'd be a huge, probably you're talking about 1.5 billion people who would go from zero to Heaven's Gate cult.
Yeah,
instantly.
I was just gonna bring them
and
up.
take a bunch of people with them in the process, right? Marshall Applewhite and all those, he and T and Bo and all that shit, right?
Oh my God, that stuff is fucking ridiculous. I don't know. I think people who have natural curiosity about the world, like you and I, would welcome.
Well, that's because apparently we grew up after this is the other conspiracy theory that's always been floated about UFOs and the U.S. government knowing about it stuff, is that they finance UFO movies, soft pedal good ones like Contact and Close Encounters and all this stuff that allow, and E.T., and they allow people to ease into the idea that it's not just going to be like, I don't know, Starship Troopers or some shit. And so
or Independence
most of us,
Day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We have grown up in an era where if they're bad and they show up, we'll be able to handle it. And if they're good and they show up, we'll make sure we can make friends with them. Right. And we've grown up in an era where that was the primary, thought form around. Think of all the alien movies that you've seen, Alien Nation, any number of things.
War of the Worlds. I love the Tom Cruise, Steven Spielberg. War of the Worlds is a really good one.
Yeah, it's really good. And so War of the Worlds is a good way to wrap this story up. So when my great grandfather, he was lucky enough to have a radio in his car. One of the first, he was doing pretty well. He was an Army general. He had a radio in his car, so he was able to listen to the radio while they were driving about. And they heard the Halloween broadcast of the War of the Worlds.
Infamous.
Yeah. And if you haven't heard it, folks, it should make it a Halloween tradition in your household that after the sun goes down, just listen to it. It's about an hour and change, and it's so good. But he didn't hear the beginning part. The Mercury Players present, blah, blah. He just kind of they were driving, and they had the whole family in the car, and they're driving. And they're listening to this stuff, and everybody's starting to get scared because it sounds for all the world like it was real. And he apparently, according to my grandmother, who was a little girl at the time, pulled the car over, got a shotgun out of the trunk, and sat listening to it on the side of the road with the gun in his lap, with the idea that he would, if it was real, if they were coming that way, he would do the whole family and himself rather than let them be taken.
Oh my God.
So you could, and there were lots of stories about people that reacted that way. People thought it was, I mean, I wouldn't exist right now if there hadn't been a commercial break.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's
so
like the end of the mist. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. Well, and that's the thing. That's something that they dealt with for decades, people reacting to the potential for this kind of shit. This was the cycle. And since then, like I said, ever since then, there's been this through line of us living with aliens and aliens living with us and Star Wars. And there's Chewbacca, who's fucking Bigfoot. Like, of all the anti-creative horse shit, please remember, folks, that Star Wars was made during the 70s and Bigfoot was huge in the 70s. There was there was Bigfoot and Wild Boy was a Croft Super Show thing. And
oh my God.
Right?
And In Search of about
yes.
Bigfoot. Remember In Search of with Leonard Nimoy?
All he did was make a Bigfoot. He basically just said, there's Bigfoots everywhere and Bigfoots are aliens. And so I'll just have a Bigfoot. That's
Let's make a cuddly Bigfoot, though.
Yeah, he's not saying it as much, but
can love.
That's what he fucking did. Like, I
mean, they sold Chewbacca plush dolls, and my brother kept did with one in bed. So
and there were aliens that we were partnered with, and there were aliens that were bad, but it was totally different. After that, there was a change in how Hollywood and others, and again, you have to look at when this was. We're talking about the 30s and 40s. That there was and when the rise of the Nazis, there was a distinct line of propaganda and the government interacting with Hollywood and Hollywood trying to do its part to make sure our government didn't collapse. Some of it was soft propaganda, meaning that like true believers really telling the story, not being told to by anybody, but recognizing that, oh, we kind of dug a hole here. We might want to fill it in so that people don't fall in the fucking hole that we dug. And a lot of this, up to that point, a lot of the sci-fi was super fucking negative, scared the living fuck out of everybody. And then The Day the Earth Stood Still showed up as a reference to nuclear humanity. And that was sort of the bridge point where they started talking about it in those terms. They started talking, movies started being like, there's aliens out there. They mean well. We need to interact with them. And if they show up, we don't shoot them right away because they might tell Gort to attack. And if you don't remember, Klaatu, Verata. Well, basically, I said it. If you don't remember the words, he'll kill everybody. Gort, he literally shows up with this like laser bodyguard that can destroy everything and can't be destroyed by anything we have. That was the easing into it. Still got to be scary. We're still selling an idea, but they're aliens, and they, if we could. Man, can you imagine what life would be like if we interacted with them, with our technology and their technology, and God knows how long they live and blah, blah, blah. Like that kind of stuff. So I find that fascinating. For many people know, I did one of those UFO shows years ago because I saw one when I was a kid with my buddy Scott and Drew. We all saw it together. It was very distinct. It wasn't like a cigar-shaped light that just kind of dangled there for a second. It was a major thing. So I'll see if I can dig up that clip someplace where I tell the whole story. But because there's a dun 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 ending that goes all the way to the 90s. But anyways, So, and my dad had, this is another side story. By the way, my middle name is Tangent. This is a funny story how I got that.
Your middle name is Tangent?
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. It was a joke because I was going to go on a big dumb tangent.
Your middle name is Danger.
Yeah, right. Okay. Danger Tangent. Which is interesting because they're not
That's
all
our new
dangerous.
band name, Danger Tangent.
Danger Tangent, right. Yes, A Cul-de-sac of Fear is the first album.
Love it. I love that. That's great.
My dad worked for the, design stuff for the Air Force as an architect, and had top clearance at one point and had to piss and there was no bathroom in the hangar they were using in the area they were building in. So they're like, yeah, you're fine. You can just walk across over there, use the shitter over there. And so he walks in and gets a gun in his face the second he steps in the door. Because I don't know if he knew the secret knock or whatever, but he's like, ugh. And they're like, okay, yeah, right over there. And he walked by a window into part of what they were building or deconstructing. What's the word?
De-engineering.
Yeah. And he says he's still never seen technology like it, and there was nothing holding it up. So that's one of my.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the world is. I say the prayer of Joe Banks all the time. Dear God, whose name I do not know, thank you for my life. I forgot how big the universe is. And
wow, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It
he
is.
passes out before he finishes it, but that's the line. And
it's a good line.
Yeah, so I don't rule out anything, but I'm not gonna, buy a house or dig a hole in the ground and build a bunker based on any of that information. It's just
Not yet.
It's like batting around sports scores. I care about as much as the people around care about it at that moment, and then suddenly when we're eating, we're talking about other shit. And I think that's healthy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a healthy amount of skepticism is great, but also keeping your mind open to possibilities is also important.
Yeah.
And
the Earth is, however, round, though. I would like to say it bulges a little at the center, but it's very much round, very much a round thing.
I've always wondered? I've always wondered this about flat earthers. Do they think the moon is flat and all of the other planets are flat, or just Earth?
Okay, there's two camps. There's a war going on amongst the flat earthers. I don't know if you know this.
I'm not aware because why would I pay attention?
Big fight. Okay, so there are the UN world government conspiratorial flat earthers that believe the Earth is flat, and there's the Antarctic and the Arctic are actually a ring of ice because no matter where you go, you hit ice. So the idea is that we're in this it's like the crust on a pizza, and we live in that part of it. And the best part, the elites and all the people who are special and the black helicopter people or whatever live outside the crust. They live beyond the other flat thing because it goes on infinitely. And that's where paradise is. Beyond the edge of the ice, when you cross over the ice, that's where all the cool shit is. This is like a prison
who lives
colony.
There? Like Tom Cruise lives there? And
yeah, it's like Jodie Foster, I think, is president right now. And yeah. But anyways,
okay, cool.
They keep us all trapped in here. I don't know why.
Okay.
You would bother if it's infinite. What are they going to do? Run out of infinite ground? It gets, believe me, any of this, you dig very deep and it's like the flat earth. You just fall through. But
exactly.
So there's that group who believe that black helicopters will keep you from going too far and reaching the edge of what we think is the earth, and that turns out to just be the start of the rest of the flat earth that goes on forever. Which is fucking.
Okay, so they don't think we're gonna fall off an edge into infinity. Okay.
No. Neither group thinks we're gonna fall off into infinity. Neither group.
Okay,
and there's for two separate
relief,
reasons.
I guess.
One believes that it's a big flat surface that goes on forever, and it's always going up. I don't know what the fuck that is, but that's what gravity is, because it's always traveling up. So you're feeling like the pressure down is actually the pressure of like speed. Like when you, I know it's very silly. Don't dig very deep. The other half of this group are the religious folks, the people who believe that in the in the idea that the Earth is under the dome, and that God created like this. I call it the cloche, the cake top theory, like the glass you put over cake, right? And God keeps us in this petri dish to, I don't know what the fuck to jerk off to. I don't understand it at all. But apparently, that's why you're not going to fall off, is because there's a dome over us, and you.
Oh, okay, like in the Stephen King book.
Or in Truman Show, you just go you just hit it. But
no one has yet,
right? So
because it's so big.
I guess the religious ones believe that the stars and the moon and the sun and all that shit are just a magical light show that God gave us so that we wouldn't be bored.
Like a movie screen, like it's a big movie screen.
Yeah.
It's a big IMAX or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no.
Okay.
It's an image in our souls that we project outward onto it, and what it's written into our DNA, so we will always see it in the same way that like natives in South America had never seen a ship before, so they couldn't see the ship until somebody said, "I think there's a ship out there," and then they stared at it for a week until he could understand what a boat was, and then he could finally see it. They had what's called a scotoma. God gave us a scotoma where we can't see the reflective glass. It's fucking dumb. Anyways, the other side,
this
the
makes
sciencey,
my brain cry.
I know. The other group that thinks we won't fall off because...
It looks like you're feeling me up when you do that, by the way.
I know. Hello, look out. I'm sorry about that. I beg your pardon. Right. Thanksgiving.
You would be the first one who hasn't forever. It's fine.
Oh, come on.
It's fine. I don't care.
All right. Yeah. And if they weren't anti-Semitic, they would have had a shot. Anyways,
if only they
kid,
weren't anti-Semitic.
if only.
Well, what are you gonna do?
So the science flat earthers, which is I guess an oxymoron, those folks believe that my dear friends at NASA put these like things in the sky like fucking balloons to distract us all and think that there's a sky up there that you can actually get to, so you busy yourself trying to go up to go to space instead of going to the Antarctic and knocking the snow piercing through the fucking snow and coming out the other side and going to paradise, which is everywhere except here, which I feel myself getting stupid as
Do
I
they think
say
airplanes can take them there? Maybe because airplanes fly around.
No, you'll
but
be
they
shot.
don't-
You'll be shot out of the sky. You'll be destroyed because of the Illuminati, pentaveret.
So if I just want to make sure I understand this. If an airplane finds that way into paradise, but it's not a It's not a regulation ship.
It's not a sanctioned
It's not
flight.
sanctioned. It's
Yeah.
not regulated, and it's not sanctioned. It would just is that the explanation for all plane crashes? To the conspiracy theorists, like they tried to break
sometimes-
through and go to paradise.
It depends on who you ask, because according to the religious folks, sometimes they hit the cloche. Sometimes
they
bounce off the sky. They fly.
They did an Icarus and flew too
Right.
close to the sun.
The story of Icarus is a literal story as opposed to some sort of theoretical thing. I love these kind of discussions, by the way.
How about just living in reality? Why is it so hard for some people to just live? I understand why things are difficult to process.
I'm
live
sorry.
in reality
Excuse
matters.
me, woman who lives in the capital of weed. I got news for you.
That's not to deny reality. That's to help me sleep. Anyway.
Well, you're one of the rare ones that uses it as a substitute for fucking melatonin, because I have this joke in my act that I've done for quite a while to explain why I don't do drugs and I never shall, and it's essentially that I can bore a pothead, and that takes a lot of work because these motherfuckers will dig deep on anything. They will just
yeah.
Imagine
there's like a whole society in your fingernail, man.
We're all under the fingernail of a giant hippie, right?
Just shut the entire fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I don't believe any of that stuff.
Pop makes it worse. And by the way, that is where that comes from, by the way, is that's leftover fractal geometry reaction from right about mid 60s. People were starting to deal with fractal geometry, and they're starting to come across with this, oh my God, if you set this one thing in motion, it sets these spirals out. The things you've seen we take for granted now, like old screensavers on Windows, which would create a giant spirograph, because of that mathematics. When they started working with that mathematics in the 60s, that's where people were like, it's like a tie-dye the universe makes, fucking A. And then that became like, and the thing about those, about them is that no matter what part you look at, the smaller you go, it all looks the same. It doesn't, you move in or move out.
Dude.
And so they're like, what if we're all, Mandelbrot, exactly. What if we're all inside, like, my fingernail, and then in my fingernail, there's a guy in there that looks just like me that's in my fingernail. Like, dude, put it down. Put the pipe down. Put the pipe.
Yeah. No, I mean that's like college stoner discussions. I've evolved to the middle-aged stoner, and now I'm just like, did you watch The Gilded Age? It's really good. That's where I go with it. So,
that's good.
I mean, I think everybody processes their weed in a different way.
Thanks, George. Yeah.
I don't think it makes me a more profound thinker. Just so everybody understands.
Doc in Paradise says Hal gets cranky when people try to convince him to do drugs.
No, I would never convince you, because you are so smart, and you live at this level where you don't need it. I was listening to you before I came on, and you were explaining why you were so mad at that Bloomberg article.
Yeah, right.
The math. And you were doing all of the math, and I was like, he's so fucking smart. He's just so smart. I have a magnet on my refrigerator that says I'm too pretty to do math. So
that's
not feminist, but it makes me laugh every time. But here, I would never. I am not hey, don't you want to be all like the cool kids? Come on. No, you don't want to puff pass. You don't have to. That means there's more for me.
I agree.
Totally
right. I'll drive you home.
I would never.
I'll give you a lift. You're safe.
Will.
You can get home safely.
To Portland,
I'm not only the guy
that time, and you won't even know it.
Yeah, I'm not only the guy. I've said this before, but I won't even sleep with a woman if she's been drinking. for a myriad of reasons. One is I don't think you can consent if you're hammered, and I also don't want you to forget what happened because I work way too goddamn hard in bed for you to go, what happened? Oh my God, what happened? Like, what happened?
To do, fellas.
What happened? What the fuck was I doing for 3 hours? What do you mean what happened? Thank God I taped it. So, right? That's the game.
I don't. Somebody said something very nice to me on Twitter today because I talked about I mentioned that I was single or whatever, and she was like, "But you're so gorgeous and sexy and fabulous." I'm like, "It's not me, it's them." And I'm in my mid-50s now. I don't even care about all of that business. But you know, again, I won't yuck anybody else's yum. And if you still have an active libido, good for you. Enjoy whatever path that libido takes you down, as long as everybody's safe and consenting. For me, it's like, nah, I'm done. I'm putting all of that energy into trying to, you know, have a career instead.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it to wind down so that I can get other shit done.
It doesn't really happen as much in men, but it definitely happens to women. So.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Otherwise, you wouldn't need Viagra. That's your body telling you get a hobby.
Yeah. But your brain is like, remember how we used to get hard as fuck and we can go all night? I want that back. And the rest of your body's like, dude, we're tired.
No. That's not how the
menopause to me has been like a gift. It has been a gift, a biological gift, which has freed me from worrying about men and their bullshit. I don't care.
Thank you. Thanks
very
much.
I care about getting my book out into the world. I mean, personally, I don't care about dating men. I don't want to have to deal with a man's part and making it happy.
No, I get it. Me and my shit.
It happy.
I get it.
I'm happier with the cats. You know, I'm happy with my friends and my cats and hanging out with you once a week and trying to sell my book and doing my life and blah,
on the
blah,
hook
blah,
for the worst amongst me, and that's fine.
You are not. You're the best of all the men that I know. You're among the best men that I know because you let me come on here and promote my book, and you introduce me to wonderful people, and you're going to come up to Portland, and we're going to hang out, and you're going to come to We're going to
restart the Bridgetown Comedy Festival. God damn it! I've already been sketching out the plan. I've already started doing. I went and got my old schedule from it that I found for the shows that I did. And I was like, okay, just to remind myself where the venues were and what they were using as venues and that kind of shit.
Well, we need to conspire sooner rather than later.
Fucking A, right.
Absolutely.
Hashtag Rip Portland.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, buy my book.
All right. But yeah, buy our book, and we'll see you next
Amazon.
week. Can you join me on Monday, you think?
I can join you every Monday forever, Hal.
Oh, that's sweet. I hope
every
one
Monday
day
forever.
Right. I hope one day you can't because you're just too busy doing your thing.
Because I'm on set.
It's good.
Because
exactly.
we have adapted the sound of settling to a streaming series that everybody is demanding.
And no, Gen X George, no, she is
Amazon,
not.
Buy the Sound of Settling. Follow me on the Twitter.
That's right.
Check out my Substack. I need to outsell Marjorie Taylor Greene.
You got to buy it by the slab.
Slab it.
Please do.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. I love you.
Okay,
have a good
bye.
week. Stay safe.
You're wonderful.
Bye.
See you later. Bye. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. Tara Dublin. All right. Tara Dublin rocks on the shitter machine, which she's a ride till you die shitter. Yeah, something like that. And she will be there. It's why we go long. It's good because we always have plenty to talk about. And I'm glad we got to tangent out into UFO stuff. Maybe it was my NASA jacket. Maybe I just like the idea that certain people will see me talking UFOs while wearing a NASA thing or shitting on flat earthers and go, I knew it. I fucking knew it. I knew it. Probably bought that at the employee gift shop. Fucking knew it. Fucking knew it. I knew it. He's probably has a bumper sticker on his car that says, my other car is a black helicopter. Son of a bitch. Fucking knew it. So the background adds to the mystique. I agree. Come to me. So anyways, I will see you guys. You know Stanton Friedman? No, I do not. I know of Stanton Friedman. I don't know Stanton Friedman. Thanks. Oh, Benny Loco, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that you've actually caught you hitchhiked on a spaceship. I heard the Ace Frehley song "Rocket Ride" is actually about you. Is that the case? I mean I know it's a rumor, but Klaatu, Verata, Nickel, Nincom.
Even outside, it's packed.
See you guys this afternoon. Like, subscribe, and share the show and all that kind of stuff. Don't forget, super chats are always welcome, but you can even do them on videos. Super thanks, whatever I was supposed to say during the whole show that I forgot to say. Also, Venmo-y stuff. Man, oh shit. All right.
The past wasn't that long ago.